Chapter 912. Xuanyuan Wentian defeated Supreme Ocean Palace was enveloped in flames. Those who were engulfed in the sea of flames released ghostly screams, but these screams did not last for long before they all sank into silence. However, the sky-shrouding fiery light continued to burn for a long while before slowly scattering away. Beneath the extinguished sea of flames, a hole shaped with the image of the phoenix was engraved on the ocean palace, and when looking through the hole, one could directly see the blue ocean below. It had actually burned through the ocean palace, which had stayed afloat for 10,000 years. Those who were engulfed by the sea of flames had all disappeared, as if they had all been vaporized from the world itself, without leaving behind even a trace of ash. Not to mention, these people were not weaklings of any sort but powerful experts belonging to Sun Moon Divine Hall and mighty heavenly sword region, the almighty sacred grounds of the profound sky continent. Among them included the Hall Master of Sun Moon Divine Hall, one of the 4 sacred masters, heavenly monarch Xianxia. With Xianxia's strength, even if he had only a single arm remaining and could never be Feng Zuer's match, he could have still at least resisted for a period of time with his full power. However, he assumed that she was still the Feng Zuer of several months ago, and decided to court death by going head-on with the blazing image of the phoenix that was unleashed with her anger. He was then instantly swept into the center of the sea of flames. No matter how he struggled, he was unable to escape from the pressure of the phoenix flames and was burnt alive under the image of the phoenix. In the end, he was completely annihilated. When the phoenix flames extinguished, Supreme Ocean Palace was a field of silence. The enormous phoenix-shaped hole had separated the 2 factions. On one side were the people of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary, Supreme Ocean Palace, and Divine Phoenix Sect, and every single one of them was dumbfounded, as if they had seen a ghost. On the other side, not even half of the lineup of Sun Moon Divine Hall and mighty heavenly sword region remained. The sacred ground profound practitioners at the back who were unable to charge out in time and had fortunately kept their lives intact, but all the color had drained from their faces. While their bodies trembled, some of them had even gone limp and slowly fell onto the ground. Xuanyuan Wentian sat paralyzed on the ground, his feet less than half a meter away from the edge of the phoenix-shaped hole. It was as if his gallbladder had broken from fright. His pale expression carried hints of yellow, and his pupils could barely be seen within his eyes. Only his mouth was emitting out a moan, which he was seemingly unconscious of. Heave, heavenly monarch! The remaining divine envoys, elders and disciples of Sun Moon Divine Hall were either shocked to a standstill or had lost their souls. No matter how, they could not believe their own eyes. The almighty heavenly monarch was actually burned into nothingness in just a few dozen breaths of time. From the descent of the image of the phoenix to the extinguishing of the flames, Feng Zuer had her eyes tightly closed the entire time, her chest heaved intensely. When she sensed that people among Sun Moon Divine Hall were once again approaching, she then instantly opened her eyes and pushed out her palm towards the front. Her voice was trembling slightly, and a teary glow could be faintly seen within her eyes. "Stay back, you're not allowed to come any closer, otherwise, I will no longer show any mercy." Feng Zuer's action made all the people of Sun Moon Divine Hall retreat in a fluster. Xuanyuan Wentian, who sat paralyzed on the ground, trembled. Letting out a strange cry, he tumbled and crawled as he retreated far away. The eyes he was looking at Feng Zuer with constantly shrank, and he no longer dared to take even the slightest step forward. Members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace were all looking blankly at Feng Zuer as well. All of them had completely lost their voices. Feng Henkang was excited to the point where he was finding it extremely hard to articulate his words. Could it be that your phoenix god power has completely awakened? The flames earlier had released a phoenix might which they had never felt before, burning Xianxia to death in just a few dozen breaths of time. Even if it was the phoenix god that had passed on, it was seemingly impossible to accomplish. Feng Zuer lightly nodded. But it will still take a few more years before it can awaken completely. It's big brother Yun who helped me. When she spoke the last few words, her head lowered and her voice had subconsciously softened a little as well, looking as if she had recalled something. Feng Zuer's beard and eyebrows trembled, and then he took in a long breath, firmly holding back the old tears in his eyes as he said while facing the sky. "It must be the phoenix god watching over us from the heavens. The heavens are watching over our divine phoenix sect." Ever since the phoenix god had passed on, Their biggest desires were the awakening of Feng Zuer's Phoenix God power, and her becoming the second Phoenix God of Divine Phoenix sect. They had initially thought that it would take at least another 100 years, and these 100 years would be the most dangerous 100 years for Divine Phoenix sect. They never expected that during their reunion this time, Feng Zuer's Phoenix God power would have already awakened to such an extent. She had clearly already surpassed the level of the ancestral Phoenix God. "Heartfelt congratulations to esteemed your sect," Xianxia sincerely said as he lifted his hands towards the Divine Phoenix sect. If not for Feng Zuer's divine might, they might have all died miserably at the hands of Sun Moon Divine Hall and mighty heavenly sword region by now. Boom, 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 boom. The ocean waves below were tumbling intensely. All of the ocean within sight was in complete turmoil, as if there was a sky-supporting pillar stirring chaos beneath the ocean. The constant explosive reverberations were not loud, but it was as if one's heart could crack from their oppressiveness. "Big Brother Yun," Feng Zuer called out softly, as she hurriedly turned around to look at the rumbling ocean surface. Deep colors of anxiety appeared on her snow-white face. "Princess, Snow," Xianxia, who was being deeply tortured by the devil poison, said with incomparable difficulty. "Your power must have already surpassed your esteemed sect's ancestral Phoenix God. I wonder if you have a way to remove the devil poison in our bodies." Cough. Light of hope brightened in the eyes of everyone who were being tortured by the devil poison when they heard Xianxia's words. All of them looked towards Feng Zuer, and some of their eyes even carried deep beseechment. Feng Zuer lightly shook her head. "There isn't anything I can do. The only one who can remove a poison like this is most likely Big Brother Yun. He will definitely defeat Xuanyuan Wentian." Xianxia opened his mouth and continued with a hoarse voice. "If no, after Asgard Master Yun defeats that old crook Xuanyuan Wentian, can Princess Snow plead to Asgard Master Yun on our behalf? We will definitely be most grateful." "Yes," Spiritual Master Bitter Agony of the Sanctuary hurriedly followed up as well. "Princess Snow's heart is as pure as ice and snow. You must find it unbearable to see us die after suffering from such torture. We have to trouble Princess Snow to plead on our behalf. Asgard Master Yun loves Princess Snow so dearly, he will definitely not reject your request." Of course, this was all under the premise that Yun Qi could defeat Xuanyuan Wentian. Feng Zuer lightly bit her lips and all of a sudden instead said with a strong tone, "If Big Brother Yun is willing to save you all, then he will do it. If he isn't willing, I won't plead to Big Brother Yun on behalf of you all." Feng Zuer's words made the faces of all the people of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace stiffen, and even Feng Henkang and the rest had astonished expressions as well, because those words did not sound like something Feng Zuer would say at all. Just like how in the past, Feng Zuer had never used her phoenix flames to burn anyone, nor had she ever taken the life of any living creature, and her words clearly carried deep anger within. Very evidently, since the day she brought Yun Qi away from Divine Phoenix sect, she had definitely experienced many things. Why? Xianxia painfully asked. "Why? I should be asking you people that?" Feng Zuer turned around. She, who was very rarely angry, unleashed it all towards their resentment at this moment. "Back then at the Devil's Sword Conference, you all wanted to harm Big Brother Yun and snatch away Big Brother's Mirror of Samsara. In the end, Big Brother Yun chose to forgive all of you. All of you had clearly promised not to seek Big Brother Yun for trouble ever again. But, on the day Big Brother Yun and I were engaged, when Big Brother Yun suffered from heavy injuries, it was you people again. If not because little demon Empress Sis had rushed over in time back then, Big Brother Yun might have. Big Brother Yun has never done any wrong to any of you, but you treat him that way time and time again. Why must Big Brother Yun save you people? Why must I help plead on your behalf?" Feng Zuer's furious speech stunned all the people of Supreme Ocean Palace and Absolute Monarch Sanctuary. Huangji Wuyu's mouth was agape. It was as if all his energy had escaped from his body when his head instantly drooped down. The expression of Fengyi, who was lying in Xianxia's embrace, was deathly pale, her chest heaving intensely and an agonizing, trembling noise emitted from her mouth. There must be some sort of misunderstanding here." Xianxia shook his head. "Back then during the Devil's Sword Conference, we were indeed in the wrong, but we had clearly reconciled with Asgard Master Yun. On the day of your engagement, we could not be more excited than to personally show up and express our congratulations. When did we ever make things difficult for Asgard Master Yun?" You people clearly did it, yet you still refuse to admit it. Feng Zuer grew even more furious as she pointed her fingers straight at Huanji Wuyu and Feng Yi. All of you ask those two? All the eyes in Absolute Monarch Sanctuary landed on Huanji Wuyu, while all the eyes in Supreme Ocean Palace landed on Feng Yi. Spiritual Master Bitter Agony said with difficulty, Saint Emperor, this matter. Huanji Wuyu closed his eyes and slowly said, We simply did not wish for the mirror of samsara to land in that old crook Xuanyuan's hands. ZZZZNG. It was as if something had exploded within the minds of all the sacred ground's profound practitioners. The bodies of the 11 spiritual masters shook, their faces ash-gray. Zai painfully closed his eyes as well. Even though his heart was filled with extreme hatred, with Feng Yi already in a half-dead state, how could he possibly utter any words of reproach? Dropping a stone onto the man who had fallen into the well once was something they could still resolve. However, after dropping another stone once more, it was already extremely benevolent of Yun Qi to not have followed their example. How could they possibly have the face to beg him to save their lives? After his heart had been pierced by Yun Qi's sword, whether it was his profound energy or blood, both rapidly leaked out from Xuanyuan Wentian's body. The power behind his every subsequent sword strike was gradually weakening, and with every breath, the pain he felt intensified. When he swung out his 20th blow, the eternal Night Devil sword had already been smashed into a crescent shape by the heaven-smiting Devil Slayer sword. Xuanyuan Wentian could no longer take on a blow from Yun Qi's sword, and the bones in his arms all shattered into pieces. A deafening explosion resounded in his ears, and the scene before his eyes started to spin as he was directly sent smashing towards the bedrock below. Only his head remained exposed on the outside. Ch-ch-ch-ch! Xuanyuan Wentian furiously howled, the dark light around his body erupting forth. The surrounding bedrock had completely disintegrated into dust, but right after, his body began to shake intensely. With his hand firmly grasping on his chest, his heavily injured body seemed to be unable to resist the chaotic water currents as he twisted and turned about. His face that was filled with agony and had turned even more ferocious than an evil ghost. Ha ha, Yun Qi panted like a cow. But he had only paused for a short few breaths of time before he once again raised his sword and charged towards Xuanyuan Wentian. He lured Xuanyuan Wentian into the ocean depths for 2 reasons. 1, he did not wish to expose his dark, profound energy in front of outsiders, and 2, he had the absolute advantage within the ocean. The ocean currents and water pressure here could restrict people's movements and spiritual senses, and could even increase one's energy consumption by a considerable degree. However, to Yun Qi, whose body carried the evil god's water seed, all these negative influences were completely non-existent. Rather, the rich water elements here could hasten the recovery of his injuries and profound energy. Seeing Yun Qi charging towards him again this quickly, a groan that seemed to be filled with agony and despair leaked out from Xuanyuan Wentian's throat. However, his bone-shattered arms could not even raise the eternal Night Devil sword in time. Boom! An enormous vortex swirled up within the ocean depths as Xuanyuan Wentian was smashed firmly on his chest. He screamed out and was then sent flying far away, brushing a long streak of crimson-black blood within the ocean water. The eternal Night Devil sword had also flown out of his grasp in that motion. Xuanyuan Wentian flew for several hundreds of meters before he stopped due to the obstruction from the ocean waters. His entire body was like a pile of boneless, tattered flesh, while he powerlessly swirled with the tumbling ocean water. It was as if he had completely lost all his energy. Though Yun Qi's body was soaked in blood, his expression and aura were still incomparably ferocious. Just from profound energy alone, if not because the Darkness Seed and Heaven-Smiting Devil Slayer sword had suppressed Xuanyuan Wentian in all aspects, he indeed would not have been a match for Xuanyuan Wentian. However, when speaking of physiques and recovery abilities, Xuanyuan Wentian's self-proclaimed undefeatable devil physique was far from being comparable to his dragon god physique. It's about time for this to end, Xuanyuan Wentian. Yun Qi panted heavily. Separating the ocean water, he walked towards the silent Xuanyuan Wentian a step at a time. At this moment, an irregular black aura suddenly surged from Xuanyuan Wentian's body. Following after, his eyes opened, and his body, which was filled with vermilion scars, suddenly flipped up. Then he stretched out his arm, and the eternal Night Devil sword flew back into his grasp. That layer of irregular black aura began spreading toward the eternal Night Devil sword as well. Suddenly, an intense metallic cry sounded from the eternal night devil's sword, and following after, the devil's soul within the sword emitted out a hysterical roar. "You! What are you doing?" "Ah, stop!" Xianxia fiercely stopped his feet. At that one moment, he suddenly had a dangerous feeling. It was as if an extremely terrifying evil spirit from a bygone era was awakening within Xuanyuan Wentian's body. Chapter 913, Reduced to Ashes. Xuanyuan Wentian, you what are you doing? Stop. You dare, you scum? Even if this sovereign turns into a ghost, this sovereign will never forgive you. The screams of the devil's soul within the sword grew even more agonizing, and then, after one final roar filled with despair, it sank into complete silence. The devil's eyes that had been struggling within the hilt of the sword had completely closed as well. An abnormal black miasma suddenly surged from Xuanyuan Wentian's body. His entire body was clearly covered in heavy injuries, and his profound strength was weakened. Yet the dark devil's aura on his body was intensely rising at an extremely abnormal rate. Xuanyuan Wentian's eyes slowly opened at this moment. A pair of indescribably deep, dark light beams shot towards Xianxia, as if the eyes of a devil that had been asleep for countless years had suddenly opened. Xianxia's expression heavily sank. The two hands he were holding onto the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword with slowly tightened as he said with a low voice, "Xuanyuan Wentian, as I expected, you have already gone mad." What Xuanyuan Wentian did earlier was clearly forcefully devouring the devil's soul within the eternal night devil's sword. By devouring the soul of a primordial devil, the devil blood and devil soul within his body achieved a perfect fusion in its truest sense, allowing his dark, profound energy to surge for a short period of time. However, this sort of state evidently could only be maintained for an extremely short period of time. After that, following after the gradual disappearance of the devil's soul within his body, Xuanyuan Wentian's profound energy would forever be broken off from the divine way, and his lifespan would also be shortened by an extreme degree. If severing his future prospects and his lifespan were costs to forcefully obtaining the power of the devil blood were considered as draining the pond to catch a fish, then his present actions were akin to killing the goose that laid the golden eggs in his madness. No one can defeat this sovereign, no one. Xuanyuan Wentian's entire being was enveloped in dense black light. The only thing that could be seen from his entire body were a pair of devil-like eyes. Boom, boom, boom. Xuanyuan Wentian stepped forward. Due to heavy injuries, his body was a little shaky, but his every step would cause intense quakes in the ocean depths, as if a true devil god was closing in. Xianxia slowly raised his two arms. The vermilion and pitch-black glows on the heaven-smiting sword circulated chaotically. He sensed a never-before-seen terrifying pressure, a terrifying might that was close to a twofold increase of Xuanyuan Wentian's at his previous peak condition. "Xianxia, this sovereign shall shred your corpse into tens of thousands of pieces." Xuanyuan Wentian's voice had already turned as coarse as sandpaper. His every word carried incomparable agony and hatred. When his feet stopped, the surrounding ocean water was annihilated and quickly disappeared. Before he had even lifted his finger, an incomparably terrifying vacuum zone had already appeared in Xuanyuan Wentian's surroundings. "Guahch." As Xuanyuan Wentian roared out, the eternal night devil sword which had had its devil soul devoured, carried the might and hatred that originated from the nine hells as it smashed towards Xianxia. Before the sword aura had even closed in, Xianxia was already absolutely certain that the present him was definitely unable to take on this strike. If he were to take it on through brute force, he would definitely suffer heavy repercussions. Xianxia's feet quickly stepped back, and he disappeared the exact moment that pitch-black devil sword smashed its way towards him. Bang! The eternal night devil sword smashed Xianxia's afterimage apart, and several hundreds of meters of bedrock beneath it were all lifted up. An enormous fissure madly tore through the ocean depths, stretching into the unknown. Xianxia appeared 150 meters away, but was still ruthlessly swept into a somersault by the shockwave. His expression sank. Swinging out his left arm, the blue-colored profound handle materialized into a sharp sword, and it stabbed straight towards Xuanyuan Wentian's close to eye-piercing, dark eyes. Xuanyuan Wentian's dark, profound energy had expanded, but because of the heavy injuries on his body, his movements were especially slow and made with great difficulty. The moment he retracted the eternal night devil sword, his eyes had already been stabbed by the profound handle. Xuanyuan Wentian released a tragic roar like a wild beast, his right hand firmly held onto his eyes. On the other hand, right at this moment, Yuan Qi had already charged over like lightning, his eyes emitting a pitch-black peripheral light that was even fiercer than Xuanyuan Wentian's. The one who's going to die is you. Rumbling heaven! The profound light on Yuan Qi's body erupted, his profound aura instantly expanded, and the degree of its expansion had even far surpassed Xuanyuan Wentian, who had forcefully devoured the devil's soul. UWAGHHH, this sovereign will kill you! Kill you! Sensing Yuan Qi approaching, Xuanyuan Wentian madly screamed out as the eternal night devil's sword smashed towards Yuan Qi again, while swirling up the aura of a devil god that could even shake the blue ocean. Destroying sky, decimating earth! This time, Yuan Qi did not choose to retreat. Carrying the extreme power of the forcefully opened, rumbling heaven, the heaven-smiting devil's sword smashed towards Xuanyuan Wentian. Everything within several dozens of kilometers, no matter the ocean water or the bedrock, all of it had disappeared without a trace, turning into complete nothingness. At that one moment, there were more than several hundred black holes of different sizes flickering at the same time. Amidst the loud reverberations that could seemingly overturn the ocean, Yuan Qi's arms swirled with blood, while Xuanyuan Wentian's entire body was already splattered with pitch-black blood. His right arm had instantly shattered into dust, and the eternal night devil's sword was sent flying far away like a stone which had been struck by a meteorite. Yuan Qi's expression had turned even more ferocious than a devil, not caring in the least about the injuries nor the energy and blood that was rumbling chaotically all around his body. He channeled the remaining energy from his profound veins and the devil origin orb. Carrying all of his hatred and killing intent, he pierced the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword towards Xuanyuan Wentian. The vermilion sword beam turned into a meteorite amidst the darkness, piercing into Xuanyuan Wentian's body, and then with its force carrying Yuan Qi along, it penetrated right through. Blood poured out from Xuanyuan Wentian's right eye, and his glaring left eye, which was filled with streaks of blood, was already at the verge of exploding. Slowly, he lowered his head and looked towards his own body. His sight, however, did not make contact with his chest but had landed on the darkness behind, through an immensely huge hole. A large hole close to 30 centimeters in width appeared in his body. His organs and profound veins had all been completely destroyed. The once undefeatable devil physique had turned into a bag of blood with a large hole torn through it, as crimson-black blood rushed out. Yuan Qi, who had penetrated through Xuanyuan Wentian, had a complexion as pale as paper. He knelt onto the ground and had only managed to catch his breath after several breaths of time. A frailty he never once had before filled his entire body, and his hands could no longer even raise the heaven-smiting devil slayer sword. With his current physique, though the consequences of forcefully opening, rumbling heaven were not as miserable as in the past, it was still hard to bear. Furthermore, he had even forcefully opened rumbling heaven twice against Xuanyuan Wentian, and the endurance of his body had already reached its limits. The energy of the devil origin orb had also completely depleted with his final strike. Only within his profound veins were there still small amounts of energy left. Turning around with great difficulty, he looked at Xuanyuan Wentian, whose body had a huge hole smashed into it by him, and he refreshingly laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha. Xuanyuan Wentian, this is the end of your road. Cough, cough. His loud laughter ruthlessly stirred the injuries all around his body. As he rubbed off the fresh blood from the corner of his lips, his face still wore a proud and arrogant smile. I am impossible. How can this sovereign? Whoosh. The surrounding ocean water poured in, once again filling up the place that was annihilated into a vacuum zone by the powers of the two people. The ocean water swirled up Xuanyuan Wentian's black blood, and his strength was also quickly disappearing with the loss of his blood. His body, which had lost its strength, could no longer resist the heavy pressure beneath the blue ocean, and he began to gradually twist and deform. Incomparable fear could be seen within Xuanyuan Wentian's widened eyes, as he sensed his own power quickly flowing away. A terrifyingly hoarse voice emitted out from his mouth. No, this sovereign's power, no, 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 no. This can't be true, this sovereign's power. His remaining arm wildly flailed about in the water, as if he was trying to capture the power that was quickly flowing away back into his own body. However, what came in exchange for his struggles and terrified roars were still the heartless vanishes of his life and power. No, this sovereign's power, come back, come back. This sovereign doesn't want to become trash, come back, come baackwahhh. His struggles, his roars in the end had actually turned into an agonized cry of despair and powerlessness. His body, which was quickly losing its strength, had already been twisted into an extremely terrifying shape under the water pressure. Yun Qi panted heavily as he used the water elements to slowly restore his own vitality and profound strength. Looking at Xuanyuan Wentian's miserable state, the refreshingness in his heart receded, and few hints of pity had even surfaced. In his entire lifetime, he had been in a desperate pursuit for power. For that goal, his entire life was filled with schemes, and he spent his entire life using all possible means to accomplish it. Finally, he used 1,000 years to obtain his wish, but on the very first day he became the heavenly sovereign. He was sent into hell. To him, losing power was undoubtedly the most brutal torture in the world. This sovereign's power, this sovereign is the overlord under the heavens, why? Even when his entire body had already been tattered and twisted to the point where not a single feature of a human remained, he was still unwilling to die off as he roared out in despair. Why? Because of your own desires, you were willing to use anything in your disposal. You did all those evil deeds, killed so many innocent people, and destroyed the lives of so many people. Even if I don't kill you today, there will still come a day where you will be judged by heaven's law. After Yun Qi roared out, his palm suddenly stretched out. A mass of flames pierced through the ocean water and smashed onto Xuanyuan Wentian's damaged body. Bang! This mass of flames was not intense, and it could not possibly burn even a single strand of hair of the previous Xuanyuan Wentian. However, to the present Xuanyuan Wentian, it was the flames of annihilation. Amidst the explosive fiery light, Xuanyuan Wentian emitted his final scream of unwillingness, before quickly disappearing within the flames. He was then completely burnt into pitch-black ash and was scattered everywhere by the turbulent ocean water. In his lifetime, he might have lived several days that could be said to have challenged the heavens. However, before he could even have the time to truly enjoy the results he exhausted his lifetime to obtain, he was already reduced into ashes. Whoosh! Yun Qi took in a deep breath, his entire body powerlessly floating in the ocean water. It was as if he no longer even had the energy to balance his body. Truthfully, what qualifications do I have to speak of Xuanyuan Wentian's evil deeds? The number of innocent people who died at my hands is still countless times more than at his. Heh. Probably the ones who should truly be judged by heaven's law are people like me. Yun Qi laughed self-mockingly. Then he closed his eyes and lightly said, Jasmine, do you see this? I won. I defeated Xuanyuan Wentian. Without you by my side, I'm finally able to defeat a powerful enemy as well. If you see this, heh. Will you be willing to praise me a little? Jasmine's usual cold and stern look surfaced in his mind. He could not help but laugh, and within the warmth of his laughter carried a hint of bitterness. When he opened his eyes, the figure of an old man appeared before him. Grandfather, I finally exacted revenge for you with my own hands. You must find peace and happiness in heaven. Chapter 914, Juchen of Two Lives Whoosh. Boom, thousands of huge waves soared towards the heaven and spread across the boundless blue sea. The highest of those waves towered more than tens of thousands of meters in the air as they fiercely battered Supreme Ocean Palace. The force carried by these huge waves was astonishing. Supreme Ocean Palace, which had floated on the surface of the ocean for 10,000 years, was being heavily battered. Amidst violent shaking, it was nearly swept 300 meters away, inducing a chorus of alarmed shouts which rang across Supreme Ocean Palace. Following that, the huge waves subsided, and the surface of the ocean very quickly became tranquil once again. There were no longer any more great waves, and even the previously persistent water ripples and the muffled rumbling sounds had completely faded away. A long period passed, but no further activity occurred. Feng Zuer had been looking at the surface of the ocean all this while. The long silence that persisted over the surface of the ocean caused heavier and heavier anxiety and unease to be birthed in her heart. She continued to chew on her lips before she could finally wait no longer. She turned around, taking a look at the members of Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword Region who had all hidden themselves at a great distance. She suddenly extended an arm. The scarlet-red phoenix flames scattering down from above before forming a gigantic flame barrier which engulfed everyone present within it. Zuer, what are you going to do? Feng Hengkong asked in a panicked voice after he seemed to realize something. I am going to go find Big Brother Yun. You can't. It's too dangerous, Zuer. Feng Hengkong was not able to react fast enough to even attempt to stop Feng Zuer. He could merely anxiously take a single step forward as he watched Feng Zuer resolutely hop off Supreme Ocean Palace, directly descending toward the surface of the dreadfully calm blue ocean. Beneath the blue ocean, following the scattering of Xuanyuan Wentian's body into ashes, the last remaining bits of his devilish energy had also begun to grow duller and duller, to the point where it had completely disappeared. Yun Qi had no choice but to admit that Xuanyuan Wentian was an exceedingly dreadful man, and he could even be said to be the most terrifying person Yun Qi had ever met in his entire life. Whether it was in the illusory demon realm or the profound sky continent, he had included every single person in his calculations, and everything he had attained had been done so by relying on strategy and schemes. If not for the fact that Yun Qi had coincidentally obtained the evil god's darkness seed in the Azure Cloud continent, then besides Feng Zuer, who would need many years to fully awaken the power of the Phoenix god, no one else in this world would be able to stand up to him, and both the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm would have fallen under his dark shadow. After he had rested at the bottom of the sea for a long period of time, Yun Qi had finally managed to recover some of his vitality. He balanced his body, stretched out his hand, and reached towards the dark depths. Immediately, a black shadow flew towards him from far away as it was sucked into Yun Qi's hand. The eternal Night Devil sword. The flawless jet-black sword body no longer had that pair of wicked devil eyes. Even if the devil soul within the sword had not been devoured by Xuanyuan Wentian, it would have met its demise the moment Xuanyuan Wentian died. Even though the Moon's Slaughter Devil Sovereign had escaped the evil god's seal, he was unable to endure the light of the sun or the moon, so he could only hole up in the Moon's Slaughter Devil nest. He was not even able to plague humanity even if he so desired. Yet this sword which originated from him had caused such an enormous calamity in both the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm. It helped found the Eternal Night Royal family, but it had also destroyed the Eternal Night Royal family. It had led Xuanyuan Wentian to success, but it had also led Xuanyuan Wentian to his downfall. At the same time, it had also created a personal tragedy that spanned across 2 lives. Bzzz, the Eternal Night Devil sword in his hand suddenly started vibrating irregularly, even though the vibrations were very light, but Yun Qi could sense them very clearly. His eyebrows furrowed as he swiftly released the Eternal Night Devil sword and slowly retreated several steps. At this moment, a blurry image slowly appeared in the air above the Eternal Night Devil sword. Or perhaps it would be better to say that this image could no longer be described as blurry, as it was as thin as the morning fog, so thin that it was nearly impossible to sense at all. Even with Yun Qi's eyesight, he could only barely see the appearance of this image. Fen, Jiu, Chen. As he looked at that incredibly thin soul image, Yun Qi muttered those words as an incredibly complex feeling was birthed in his heart. The thin and shallow soul image silently stared at him. It did not make a single sound, nor did it express any emotion. Yun Qi said, "When we last spoke in the illusory demon realm, I promised you that as long as I still lived, there would come a day where I would kill Xuanyuan Wentian. So today I managed to live up to those words. Finally, I can die," Fen Juchen softly muttered. Yun Qi's lips moved, but he was unable to say anything for a long period of time. Those 4 short words did not contain the slightest trace of emotion, yet Yun Qi could clearly sense the pain and the sorrow that lay buried beneath them. To Fen Juchen, death would have been an incomparably wonderful release. But after Xuanyuan Wentian had stolen his body, Fen Juchen, who had lost everything, desperately strove to live, as he desperately willed his consciousness to continue existing, even if there was incomparable pain and resentment. Even if every moment of this life was akin to existing inside a purgatory, he stubbornly refused to allow the last dredges of his consciousness to fade away, because he was not content with how things had turned out. But today, he had personally witnessed Xuanyuan Wentian's death. With the death of the evil devil who had turned his life into a tragedy, he could also finally die as well, and in doing so, he could finally be released from this life. To him, death had always been such an extravagant desire. After taking in a deep breath of air, Yun Qi calmly said, "Aside from Xuanyuan Wentian, the person you should hate the most in your life is me. Yet you still saved my life 3 times. Outside the divine Phoenix City, you blocked Xuanyuan Wentian, giving Zuer and I time to escape. In the snow region of extreme ice, you forced Xuanyuan Wentian away. And during that time in the illusory demon realm, you were the only reason we were able to survive that calamity in the first place. I did not do it for you. Fen Juchen's voice finally carried some emotion. I did it for Lingxi. She previously told me this. If you died, she would die as well. Do you have any message that you want me to pass on to her? Yuanqi asked, his chest rising and falling heavily. Help me thank her, Fen Juchen said, his voice becoming very soft. It was she who helped me feel that this world was not such a cruel place after all. It was she who let me feel that I was still alive. I understand, Yuanqi said as he faintly nodded his head. He understood that the word cruel, used by Fen Juchen, contained an incredibly cruel hidden meaning. I remember that you should still have some things left in Floating Cloud City. I will bury them in Floating Cloud City for you. After all, Floating Cloud City can be considered your very last home. Home? Fen Juchen softly muttered that word. Yuanqi hesitated for a while before finally speaking. Do you still have any desires that you still have yet to fulfill? Perhaps I can help you fulfill them. Given Fen Juchen's arrogant nature, Yuanqi had thought that those words might hurt his pride. But to his surprise, Fen Juchen looked Yuanqi straight in the eye before speaking in an incomparably slow and sincere voice. Within 1 month, take Lingxi as your wife. Yuanqi was completely stunned. Her tears are because of you. Her smiles are also because of you. When she daydreams, it is because of you. The words that she spoke have all come from you. The reason she saved me was also because of you. But you only return to Floating Cloud City 3 times a month, and more women keep appearing by your side, but you have never. Fen Juchen's words contained no small amount of fury. But after that, his voice slowly grew calm once more. But only you are worthy of her, nobody else is. Yuanqi was left dazed for a good long while. But after that, a faint smile curled up at the corners of his lips as he said, So does this count as your acknowledgement of me, Fen Juchen? All of your words are completely superfluous, Yuanqi said with a faint smile. When she was still my little aunt, she was my little aunt alone. When I found out that she wasn't my little aunt, then I had even less reason to allow her to belong to somebody else. Furthermore, now that this day has finally come, Yuanqi said as he tilted his head upwards, his eyes becoming exceptionally warm, the promise that was made between the two of us has finally been fulfilled. Fen Juchen silently observed him for a while. After that, he slowly turned around, his thin and shallow soul image starting to tremble. Yuanqi took a step forward. Fen Juchen, I no longer hate you. Those 5 soft words were the last 5 words Fen Juchen spoke in his life. His soul image slowly dissipated into the air like a tendril of smoke that was being blown apart by a gentle wind. Yuanqi felt as if his heart had been fiercely smashed by something. Yuanqi froze in place as he stood there pondering this feeling. A heavy feeling, a sour and bitter feeling, a soothing feeling. A feeling that was so complex that Yuanqi could not describe it chaotically rampaged about in Yuanqi's heart. His lips moved, and his final words to Fen Juchen seemed to come from the very depths of his heart and soul. Thank you, and I am sorry. The ocean waters faintly rippled, and it was at that moment that Fen Juchen's soul image well and truly disappeared, not leaving even a single trace behind. His body, his soul, his hatred, his sorrow, his worries. Everything that he had and was made up of had forever vanished from the heavens and the earth. Perhaps, at the very end of life, he had heard the words, I am sorry, come out of Yuanqi's mouth. Yuanqi's heart felt as if something had been stuffed into it, and it did not go away for an extremely long time. Fen Juchen was the same as him. Both of them were people who had lived through 2 lives. But no matter the method or the destiny, there was a world of difference between the two of them. His lives were akin to extraordinary sagas spun from legend, while Fen Juchen's lives had been one long, drawn-out, and cruel tragedy. The families he had in both lives were utterly destroyed. He had lost all of his kinsmen each time, the first time around. Fen Juchen's family had been murdered by Xuanyuan Wentian's vile and wicked scheme. The second time, they had been murdered by his fit of uncontrolled rage. After that, Fen Juchen had found the remains of Yi Mufeng's soul and recovered the memories of his past life. At first, he had thought he had finally found his last remaining relative. But he had never expected the vengeance-distorted soul of Yi Mufeng to bestow upon him hatred and vengeance instead of fatherly love. All those years ago, Yi Mufeng and his wife had not spared any cost or effort in order to use the eternal night-forbidden art to allow Fen Juchen to be reincarnated into the world once more. This was not only to preserve the bloodline of the eternal night royal family, but it was also to allow their son to continue to live on. But when father and son finally reunited, Yi Mufeng forced him to become a tool of vengeance while also cruelly eliminating his last hope for any sort of familial relations. He fell into the deep abyss of vengeance and hatred, forcing himself to fall and become a devil, enduring hellish pain night and day in order to obtain power. But from the start to the finish, he had been dancing in the palm of Xuanyuan Wentian's hands. The power he had risked everything to obtain became a celebratory gift for Xuanyuan Wentian, and even his own body had been stolen from him. Thus, no one could understand or even imagine the cruelty and despair he had experienced. Perhaps, the last bit of mercy life had shown him was allowing him to meet Xiao Lingxi. "I hope that you can be free of all cares and worries in your next life," Yun Qi muttered in a rather despondent voice. But following that, his eyes grew dark and dim, because he suddenly recalled that Fen Juchen was the same as Xuanyuan Wentian. Both their bodies and souls had been destroyed, so even if he did not endure the forbidden reincarnation art, he was destined to never reincarnate ever again. He had forever and completely vanished from this world. Yun Qi picked up the eternal Night Devil sword, putting it into the primordial profound arc after all. It could be considered to be what remained of Fen Juchen. Furthermore, it was also a genuine primordial devil sword. Even though it no longer contained a devil soul and did not exude a powerful aura, it could still be hiding some kind of extraordinary secret. Chapter 915 Deal, Big Brother Yun. Big Brother Yun, where are you? The anxious cries of Feng Zuer suddenly came from up above. Yun Qi's eyes glinted and he was going to rush forward. However, when he slightly exerted his strength, his entire body felt intense pain and he caught his breath and shouted, "Zuer, I'm here." "Big Brother Yun." Feng Zuer's voice became even more anxious, but there was a hint of happiness now. Very quickly, a beam of fire pierced through the sea, and under its shine, the seawater instantly became exceptionally blistering. "Zuer." Yun Qi followed the flow of water and rose naturally, gently hugging Feng Zuer, who seemed like fairy in the sea pouncing towards him. "Big Brother Yun, you suffered numerous injuries." Feng Zuer hugged him with both arms, unable to bear to look at all the injuries he had suffered, especially his chest, where a bowl-sized injury inflicted by a sword stood and his bloody sternum could clearly be seen. Just some unimportant injuries. As for Xuanyuan Wentian, not even his remains have been left behind, Yun Qi said casually. "Amen," Feng Zuer softly answered. When she heard Yun Qi's voice, she had already known the results. The pride and joy that filled her could not be put into words. "Are Yuanba and the rest okay? Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heaven Sword Region must have tried to take the chance and attacked," Yun Qi asked. He predicted that after he was knocked into the ocean by Xuanyuan Wentian, Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword Region would definitely try and attack, while the members' Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace were struck with poison. Even if all the members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace were to die, he would not care. However, Xia Yuanba was also among them. Luckily, Feng Zuer was there too, which was why he did not have to worry. He was glad that he had brought Feng Zuer along at the insistence of the little demon empress. Otherwise, he would not be able to handle the situation on both sides. "Amen." Feng Zuer nodded. "I've managed to hold them off. Also, I accidentally burnt Yimeixi to death. I never expected that he would suddenly face my phoenix flames head-on." Yun Qi was stunned before he laughed. "He wouldn't know that my Zuer's flames are capable of burning 10 of him now." Yun Qi's voice suddenly stopped and his eyes stared widely. "Zuer, Xuanyuan Wendao, he did not get burnt to death by you, right?" "No," Feng Zuer shook her head. "He was being shielded at the back. I just stopped those people that rushed forward." "Phew, that's all right then." Yun Qi secretly heaved a sigh of relief. "Zuer, let's go up. If we take too long, Yuanba and the others will worry." "Amen." Feng Zuer let out a slight smile as she gently brought Yun Qi up towards the surface of the water. After a long while, they finally surfaced from the ocean and leapt into the air. They landed atop Supreme Ocean Palace, which seemed as though it had just suffered a frightening natural disaster. Zuer, seeing Feng Zuer's return, Feng Hengkong and the others who were previously afraid came forward with expressions of joy. Following which, they looked at Yun Qi, who was covered in injuries beside her, and their footsteps stopped. The blue ocean had already been calm for some time, and there were no longer any sounds of battle. Yun Qi's appearance meant that. "Brother-in-law." Seeing Yun Qi, Xia Yuanba's body quivered in pleasant surprise, and spiritual master Ancient Blue, who stood beside him, also spoke with agitation. Asgard Master Yun, Xuanyuan Wentian, that old fox, he. Yun Qi gently went away from Feng Zuer's support, held her petite hand, and said with a smile, "Since I'm still alive, of course he's dead. Furthermore, his soul has disintegrated, and not even the remains of his corpse were left behind." Allah! Loud cries of surprise rang in the skies of the Ocean Palace. Other than the people from Sun, Moon, Divine Hall, and Supreme Ocean Palace, the faces of all the others revealed massive joy. Even the body of Fengyi, who was in Zai Jai's grasps and was lingering on her last breath of life, began to tremble with intensity. Instead, the faces of the people from Sun, Moon, Divine Hall, and Mighty Heavenly Sword region blanched, because when they saw that Yun Qi had reappeared, they had already guessed the results. "That's great," Spiritual Master Ancient Blue let out a huge sigh. "Asgard Master Yun, your actions have saved our entire profound sky continent. The first time this old one saw you, I knew that your name would definitely shake the world. However, he did not expect you to pull such a stunt." "Heh, hey, heh." The corners of Xuanyuan's lips were drawn back as he laughed foolishly, so agitated that he could not say a thing. "Spiritual Master Ancient Blue is too kind. I have no interest in saving the world. I only killed someone that I had to kill." Yun Qi replied plainly as he walked towards Xuanyuan. "Brother-in-law," looking at Yun Qi, Xuanyuan still had his silly laughter. "You defeated Xuanyuan Wentian, then you are the strongest person in this world." "Ho-ho, he's not just the strongest person in this world." Spiritual Master Ancient Blue sighed heavily. The strength of Xuanyuan Wentian could already be labeled as unprecedented. Even Yi Mufeng from back then could not come close. Now, Asgard Master Yun has defeated Xuanyuan Wentian. He can be said to be the strongest person in the entire history of the profound sky continent. The current strength of Asgard Master Yun has probably attained the legendary Divine Way, and if he wants to destroy our absolute monarch's sanctuary, it would undoubtedly be an easy task. The words of Spiritual Master Ancient Blue resounded in everyone's ears, and each word sounded like he was narrating a legend. However, none of his words felt like an exaggeration. All these sacred grounds powerhouses, who used to stand at the top of the continent, were currently looking at the youth who was covered in blood and injuries, and all of them had a sense of inferiority as though they were looking at a limitless mountain peak. Furthermore, he was only a 20-odd-year-old youth. From now onwards, the four sacred grounds were no longer the ceiling of strength for the profound sky continent. Yun Qi alone had already superseded the four sacred grounds. Furthermore, he had overtaken them by a great margin. By his side, there was also Feng Zuer, who had exceeded the level of the four sacred grounds and could exterminate a sacred master within a few breaths. It was also at that moment that everyone recognized a clear fact. Within the profound sky continent and even the distant illusory demon realm, Yun Qi was the undeniable and absolute ruler. This ruler did not come from the sacred grounds, but at least they were glad that this ruler was not Xuanyuan Wentian. Asgard Master Yun. Seeing Yun Qi walk over, the experts from Absolute Monarch Sanctuary that were being tortured by the devilish poison reached out for Yun Qi as they let out cries for help. Although they were from the sacred ground, facing the strongest person in history who had killed Xuanyuan Wentian, any more pathetic pleas would not be embarrassing at all. However, Yun Qi did not even give them a look and went straight to Xuanyuan's side and fed him 4 pellets that were giving off a cold aura before slapping him on the chest to help him swiftly refine the medicinal properties. At the same time, he used the strength of the great way of the Buddha to inject the energy of heaven and earth into his body. In a short few breaths of time, Xuanyuan's originally pale face became reddish once again, and the expression of pain greatly reduced. Xuanyuan opened his mouth, lifted his arm, and pushed Yun Qi's arm away. "Brother-in-law, I'm fine. Your injuries are so serious, you don't have to worry about me." "It's all right, such injuries are essentially nothing to me," Yun Qi replied with ease. If his injuries were on any other person, even if the person did not die, he would lose half his life. But for Yun Qi, he did not need to do anything, and he would fully recuperate in a few days. When Yun Qi's palm left Xuanyuan's chest, Xuanyuan's breathing had also returned to normal. He who had been exceptionally weak originally shook his arm and stood up rather steadily, causing the surrounding sacred grounds powerhouses that were watching to be awestruck. Asgard Master Yun. Seeing Yun Qi finally free, Zai Jai moved his body and pleaded with a lowly stance. "This old one himself knows that the Ocean Palace and Sanctuary have consecutively let you down twice, but we already know our mistakes. Asgard Master Yun must also know that our hearts are not as hideous as Sun, Moon, Divine Hall, and Mighty Heavenly Sword region. May Asgard Master Yun please be benevolent and gracious, and help us. Yun-Chi turned around and looked squarely at Zai Jai, his eyes completely unmoved. Other than the kindness of nearly causing my death, your ocean palace has no other relationship to me. If I can watch the demise of your ocean palace, I will be overjoyed. The hideous faces you all had when you all tried to kill me for your personal greed back then, I still remember them clearly. But you are asking me to save you all now? I, Yun-Chi, am not that humble. Zai Jai's face contorted in pain. However, all those who were poisoned were the core figures of the ocean palace. If they were all to die, it would not just be their lives that were lost, but the 10,000-year history of the ocean palace. He could only continue pleading pathetically. Asgard Master Yun, between you and me, there is some slight relationship, could you see? Relationship. Yun-Chi's expression fell and he retorted with anger. Since we have some slight relationship, then during the Devil's Sword Conference, when I was forced to my death, why didn't you put in any word for me? Zai Jai opened his mouth but was completely dumbstruck. Among the 4 sacred grounds, the only one who spoke for me was Spiritual Master Ancient Blue. Yun-Chi deeply said, I remember my grudges and remember the kindness shown to me even more clearly. Furthermore, what relationship do we have? It was always trade of an equivalent value. The things I bought from your Black Moon Merchant Guild, I have never once owed payment. Entering the Moon Slaughter Devil Nest, I also paid with terms that you were satisfied with. Even when you additionally told me the news about Xuanyuan, it was only to make use of me against Mighty Heaven Sword region. The 3 words, Xuanyuan, violently triggered the couple Ling Yuefeng and Xuanyuan Yufeng who were hiding far away. They who had completely lost their backing were trembling in fear, while Xuanyuan Ju, who was blocking their front, was also covered in sweat, not daring to breathe too heavily. Zai Jai could not reply. His body that was constantly twisting in pain had nearly sweated out all his sweat. However, there was only him remaining that could talk to Yun-Chi. In order to protect Supreme Ocean Palace, he had to do whatever it took and could not back down, since it's a relationship built on deals. Then, with the vast amounts of transactions Asgard Master Yun has made with this old one, Asgard Master Yun must know that this old one does not go back on his world. As long as Asgard Master Yun were to cure my Supreme Ocean Palace is willing to be at the beck and call of Asgard Master Yun. We would never disobey any orders given by Asgard Master Yun. Zai Jai's words made the experts of Supreme Ocean Palace behind him look up suddenly, but their heads gradually tilted downward again. Actually, considering Yun-Chi's current strength, he couldn't possibly need them for anything. Heh, Yun-Chi laughed coldly. Before this, you all were so unwilling to bend and would not serve Xuanyuan Wentian even in death. But you're now willingly bowing down to me. No, how can Xuanyuan Wentian be placed on the same terms as Asgard Master Yun? Zai Jai asked with utmost sincerity. What this old one says is completely true. As long, you don't need to say any more. Yun-Chi's eyes narrowed slightly. Speaking of deals, Mr. Zai has instead reminded me. Indeed, living people are after all more useful than the dead. I have no interest in your Supreme Ocean Palace, but towards your Black Moon Merchant Guild, I do have some interest. All right, then let me make a deal with you. Yun-Chi folded his arm across his chest. I can cure the poison for all of you, but from this year onwards, Black Moon Merchant Guild has to submit 30% of its profits to the Blue Wind Imperial family. Ah, Zai Jai raised his head in an instant and said in shock, 30%. Chapter 916. New Emperor of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary when Dongfang Ziu and Qin Wusheng, who had been hiding in the furthest and most isolated corner of the place, suddenly heard Yun-Chi's words. They were so shocked that they nearly jumped into the air at the same time. What kind of organization was the Black Moon Merchant Guild? The combined wealth of all the nations in the profound sky continent besides the divine Phoenix Nation would definitely not be able to equal one Black Moon Merchant Guild. The status and historical foundation of these 6 nations were far from coming close to the Black Moon Merchant Guild. What kind of notion was 30% of the Black Moon Merchant Guild's total earnings? It was an astronomical number that even Dongfang Ziu and Qin Wusheng were not able to fathom. Furthermore, the transfer of money Yun-Chi spoke of was purely a tribute. The Blue Wind Imperial family did not need to be chained down by any conditions or hardships. In fact, the Blue Wind Imperial family did not even need to participate in any part of the process or administration and management of the money. They were just taking the money, pure and simple. Furthermore, they were taking 30%. This was far worse than simply skinning the Black Moon Merchant Guild. This was even taking a pound of their flesh as well. Furthermore, this process would be repeated every year. This was definitely the most merciless case of getting something for nothing in the entire history of the profound Sky Continent. If the Blue Wind Nation received such a great amount of wealth every year, their national power would definitely soar. The Black Moon Merchant Guild was the result of Zai Jai's entire life's work and effort. It was something that was practically akin to his own life. At the same time, it was also the lifeline which supported all of Supreme Ocean Palace. If they were robbed of 30% every year, it would undoubtedly be equivalent to ruthlessly cutting his own flesh. It was also equivalent to cutting away 30% of the lifeline that supported Supreme Ocean Palace. Asgard Master Yun, is it possible that we can negotiate this a little? 20%. How does 20% sound? Zai Jai wore a tortured expression on his face, and one did not know whether it was because of the devilish poison eating away at his body, or because he had to divide up the most precious thing in his life. Furthermore, as a businessman, it was practically instinctive for him to try and reduce his losses. "Oh, it looks like Mr. Zai isn't too happy with the terms of this arrangement," Yuanqi said with a low chuckle. "That's fine. I shall acquiesce and negotiate a little then. So how about you offer up 40% every year?" What? Zai Jai's entire body fiercely shook. Dongfeng Xiu and Qin Wusheng shuddered even more violently. "Oh, could it be that Mr. Zai still feels discontented with this arrangement?" Yuanqi asked with a faint smile. No, no, no. Zai Jai frantically and anxiously waved his hand. 40%. 40% it is. Zai Jai's heart was bleeding, and he fell into a bout of self-loathing, hating the fact that his very first reaction was actually to try and strike a bargain. He actually thought of trying to bargain with Yuanqi of all people. "Very good," Yuanqi said with a satisfied nod. "It's only 40%. It's not like I'm asking for 70 or 80%. In the end, I, Yuanqi, am still not able to become the sort of person who relies on his power to extort others. Since I've given my word, then let it be settled with this." Zai Jai, at number percent. MMP. After Yuanqi had finished speaking, he stretched out his left hand, and an emerald-green purifying light immediately engulfed everyone of Supreme Ocean Palace who had been afflicted by the devilish poison. Within the span of a few short breaths, nearly all of the devilish poison had been cleansed away. The afflicted people felt the pain of their bodies being devoured greatly decrease before that feeling gradually disappeared altogether. It was just that their bodies had been corroded by the devilish poison for so long, so they still required a period of time before they could make a full recovery. "We thank Asgard Master Yun for saving our lives." Several venerable ones who were at the head of Supreme Ocean Palace rose up and bowed towards Yuanqi as they spoke. Even though they had paid an extremely heavy price, they had at the very least escaped that agony and the nightmarish specter of death. And because of this, Supreme Ocean Palace would also be able to be saved. Moreover, they were not Zai Jai, so they did not clearly understand just what it meant to hand over 40% of the Black Moon Merchant Guild's earnings every year. This ocean palace has been met with such a great calamity, so the damage dealt must definitely be rather severe, Yuanqi said blandly. If all of you still want to continue to float atop this blue ocean, then you can slowly repair it. If you don't want to do so, the source of the black energy within the Moon Slaughter Devil Nest that is to the south of here has already disappeared. So that protective barrier could have been dispelled a long time ago, and all of you no longer have any reason to continue to keep watch over this place. Several of the venerable ones exchanged glances before their leader. Venerable Purple cupped his hands towards Yuanqi and said, "This matter, I thank Asgard Master Yun for informing us about it." Zai Jai, who had escaped the grasp of the devilish poison, had heavily and slowly inhaled several times. He hugged the dying Fengyi as he stood up. His expression was filled with grief and mourning as he said, "Asgard Master Yun, this old man knows full well that I have no face to beg you to forgive the mistakes the Sovereign of the Seas has made, but she is nearly at the end of her tether, and she is destined to pass on from this life. So I beg that Asgard Master Yun allows this old one to leave for a while and bring her to a quiet place." The current Fengyi lay curled up in Zai Jai's arms. Her body was soaked with blood, and her aura was as thin as gossamer threads. She no longer exuded the power and prestige that she normally did. Nor did she still radiate an aura that caused one's heart to palpitate. In fact, Yuan-Chi could barely sense even any profound energy aura from her body. Xuanyuan Wentian's venomous and wicked devil energy had almost completely crippled Fengyi's profound strength. This was perhaps the most helpless and weak Fengyi had been in her entire life. But at the very least, there was a man who had continued to tightly hug her in his arms through this ordeal, and even though that man also had to endure the enormous pain inflicted by a devilish poison, he had not let her go at any moment. Even the powerhouses of Supreme Ocean Palace had only clearly remembered that they were husband and wife at this moment. Xianxia hugged Fengyi, his face a rigid mask as he slowly walked away, his back shadowed by a desolateness that was hard to describe. Yuan-Chi turned around as the despair that he had felt when he had held Linger in his arms all those years ago flashed through his mind. After that, he finally took in a deep breath before speaking. "If I am able to save her, what would you give me in exchange?" Xianxia's steps came to a sudden halt before he suddenly froze up. After that, he abruptly and turned around with great force as he turned towards Yuan-Chi and dropped to his knees heavily. His voice quivered violently as he spoke. "Life, my life. As long as you are willing to save her, no matter what. The life of this old man Xianxia, everything that I have. I will agree to any request you make. I beg Asgard Master Yun to raise his hand in mercy and show me great favor and kindness. If I, Xianxia, am unable to repay this debt in this life, I am willing to use the entirety of my next life to repay this debt of gratitude. I beg Asgard Master Yun to show grace and save her." The lips of Fengyi, who lay in his arms, gently moved as 2 lines of tears slowly flowed from the corners of her eyes. Yuan-Chi turned his face to the side as he took in a deep breath. If someone had told him that he would be able to save Linger all those years ago, then he would also definitely be willing to kneel in front of that person and use everything he had to make an exchange or beg for her life. He loathed Fengyi, but the actions of Xianxia had deeply touched the weakest spot in his heart. He strode forward and stretched out his hand before speaking blandly. "Senior Xi, please rise. After all, I am only a junior, so I am unable to receive such great courtesy from you. Put her down. I will save her." Xianxia's mouth gaped open before he hurriedly swallowed the words that he was just about to say. His body shook uncontrollably for a moment before he lay Fengyi on the ground with the utmost care. Yuan-Chi simply crouched down beside her, the hollow of his palm pressed against the fatal wound on her chest. He focused his mind as dense and pure energy of heaven and earth slowly congealed and spun in his palm before he infused all of it into Fengyi's body. In a short amount of time, the remaining devil energy inside her body had been completely dissipated, and her nearly completely withered life energy also began to swiftly recover. But throughout this whole process, the one who showed the most vivid expression was Xianxia. His eyes started to quake with increasing intensity as both his hands scrabbled against the ground desperately. Even though he was extremely agitated, he did not dare let out the slightest bit of sound. An entire 7 minutes went by before Yuan-Chi removed his palm from Fengyi's chest. After that, he exhaled lightly. Fengyi had already completely lost all consciousness, but her face now clearly had a tinge of red to it that it did not have before. "For now, her life isn't in danger anymore," Yuan-Chi said in a calm voice. "Given the foundation and resources of your Supreme Ocean Palace, you won't need me to help you with the rest. It's just that her profound veins are severely damaged, so even if she makes a full recovery, her profound strength should fall to the Tyrant Profound realm or even lower. Furthermore, even if she continues to cultivate again, her progress will be interminably slower than it was before." Once he sensed that the aura exuded from Fengyi was tens of times clearer and steadier than it had been before. Xianxia cupped both his hands towards Yuan-Chi and gave him a deep bow before speaking. "I do not require your thanks, nor do I require you to give me anything," Yuan-Chi said as he turned around. "I did not save her for your sake, nor did I save her for her own sake either. I saved her for my own sake. You had better hurry up and bring her to a place which is more suited for rest and recovery now." As he lifted Fengyi, Xianxia replied to Yuan-Chi's back in a deep voice. "Asgard Master Yun, this great debt of gratitude I owe you is something I, Xianxia, will never be able to forget for the rest of my life." After Xianxia had finished speaking, he did not tarry any longer, as he hurriedly carried Fengyi away from this place. If there had been any fury in his heart due to Yuan-Chi's mercilessness and blatant extortion, it had all been completely washed away at the present moment. The only thing left in his heart was boundless gratitude and gratefulness. All of the members of Supreme Ocean Palace shared the same sentiments as well. He whacked them with a big stick, but after that, he immediately bestowed a great boon upon them. Yuan Qi is not merely powerful in regards to profound strength, he is even more adept at manipulating the hearts of people, Dongfeng Xiu said with a deep sigh. Yet he did not know that the reason Yuan Qi had saved Fengyi was merely because he wanted to try to fill up a certain emptiness in his heart, and it was definitely not because he wanted to manipulate anyone's heart or anything like that. The members of Supreme Ocean Palace were all now safe and sound, and Yuan Qi had even shown incredible benevolence by saving Fengyi, who had tried to harm him twice. However, Absolute Monarch Sanctuary was still deep in the clutches of this nightmarish, devilish poison. After Zai Jai left, they directed gazes filled with hope and anxiety towards Yuan Qi as they begged him profusely. Asgard Master Yun, we beg that you raise your hand towards us in mercy, and you purge the poison from our bodies. Yuan Qi turned around and spoke in an incomparably cold and indifferent voice. Supreme Ocean Palace did not give me a reason to purge them of their poison for free, and neither does your Absolute Monarch Sanctuary. You have all witnessed what has just happened. If you want me to purge all of you of the poison that is raging through your bodies, then you need to present to me terms and conditions that are agreeable to me. At the very least, it must be something that has equivalent value to all of your lives. Spiritual Master Nine Lamentations spoke in a hoarse voice. If there is any way Asgard Master Yun can use our Absolute Monarch Sanctuary in the future, we will definitely not reject you in any way whatsoever. I have no need for that, Yuan Qi said immediately. Whatever your Absolute Monarch Sanctuary can do, I can do better. And if there is something that I cannot accomplish, then your Absolute Monarch Sanctuary definitely won't be able to accomplish it either. I simply cannot think of any possibility that I would ask Absolute Monarch Sanctuary to do anything for me in the future. Cough, cough. Huangji Wuyu moved his body forward, but even this simple movement caused him to cough out 2 great mouthfuls of blood. His aura was thin and weak as he spoke. I, Huangji Wuyu, am fully aware that I have no right to face you, and that I have even less right to beg anything of you. If I can resolve Asgard Master Yun's fury towards us, I am willing to immediately take my own life, as long as Asgard Master Yun is willing to give Absolute Monarch Sanctuary a way out. Heh, if you want to go and take your own life, that's your own business. Please do as you please, Yuan Qi said as he indifferently turned his face aside. As for giving your Absolute Monarch Sanctuary a way out, I don't understand what you're saying at all. The devilish poison that is afflicting you came from Xuanyuan Wentian. It has nothing to do with me. Yet you spoke as if I was the one who did the deed. Brother-in-law, Xuanyuan strode over and spoke in a pleading voice as well. Even though they have committed many mistakes and they have done things that are hard for you to forgive, in the end, they are just like Master. They are all righteous people. At least I have never ever seen them do wicked things. For the sake of the mirror of Samsara, Lord Saint Emperor has committed the only wrong thing I ever witnessed him commit, but it was also the most wicked and wrong thing. That's enough, Yuanba. Yuan Qi patted his shoulder as he said, Senior Ancient Blue is your master, so saving him is the completely right and natural thing to do. But these people, even though they belong to the same Absolute Monarch Sanctuary as you, they are neither your master nor are they your disciples. Furthermore, they nearly forced me into a dead end not too long ago, so I have no duty or obligation to save them. Boo! But... Xuanyuan immediately grew so anxious that he was at a loss for words. But at this moment, Huangji Wuyu's eyes glimmered fiercely. He used all of his strength to struggle to his feet and beckoned Xuanyuan to him. Yuanba, come over here. Xuanyuan obediently went over to Huangji Wuyu, but just as he arrived in front of him, he saw that Huangji Wuyu's expression was completely solemn and serious. After that, Huangji Wuyu spoke in a booming voice. Absolute Monarch Sanctuary disciple Xuanyuan, kneel down to receive your command. Lord Saint Emperor. Xuanyuan was completely stunned, but he hurriedly sank to his knees despite not knowing the reason for his action. When all of the gathered members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary saw this, their eyes flashed, and they immediately understood what was happening. Huangji Wuyu held up the primal chaos heavenly ruler in his left hand, his right hand holding a seal that flickered with a strange golden light. A strange and ancient aura radiated from this golden-colored seal. He brought the primal chaos heavenly ruler and the golden-colored seal in front of Xuanyuan. He bore the pain of the devilish poison as he spoke in an extremely solemn tone of voice. 13th Saint Emperor of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary, Huangji Wuyu, presently passes on the Saint Emperor seal and the primal chaos heavenly ruler to sacred grounds disciple Xuanyuan. From today onwards, Xuanyuan will be the 14th Saint Emperor of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary. Yuanba received the seal and the ruler. Xuanyuan's mouth gaped open as he stood there completely dazed. Yun Qi slapped a hand against Xuanyuan's lower back. If they asked you to receive it, you better receive it. Xuanyuan staggered forward as he unconsciously took the presented primal chaos, heavenly ruler, and Saint Emperor seal into his arms. It was also at this exact moment that all of the people in Absolute Monarch Sanctuary deeply bowed towards him. Even his own master, spiritual master Ancient Blue, had bent his body and bowed towards him as all of them shouted, "We greet the Saint Emperor." Chapter 917, Three Things. Xuanyuan had been completely stunned silly. He held the primal chaos heavenly ruler and the Saint Emperor seal helplessly as he stood there, not knowing what to do. After that, he stammered, "This disciple is only a junior who entered Absolute Monarch Sanctuary a few years ago, so how can I?" "Yuanba, this is definitely not a joke," Huangji Wuyu said in a solemn and grave voice. "Even if today's events had not happened, you were the one who was going to inherit the title of Saint Emperor. When I had let you use the heavenly sacred divine arc at that time, it was basically the same as informing everyone in Absolute Monarch Sanctuary of this impending matter. So this current situation we find ourselves in is merely me pushing this matter forward a little bit. Yuanba, there is no need for you to evade or push this away anymore. You already accepted the primal chaos heavenly ruler and the Saint Emperor seal. You have also received the respect that we have paid you. From this moment onwards, you are the new Saint Emperor of our Absolute Monarch Sanctuary. From now on, everyone in Absolute Monarch Sanctuary will unfailingly obey the commands of the new Saint Emperor," Spiritual Master Bitter Agony hurriedly said. At the same time, a thought rang out in his head. "This little sect master of ours, hurry up and accept it. If you don't, all of us old bones here are going to have to perform our last rites right here, right now. This little sect master's growth speed is monstrous, but why is his head like a stone? Yuanba, since the entire Absolute Monarch Sanctuary is willing to take you as their leader from today onwards, then it means that they have all acknowledged you. So what is there to reject anyways?" Yun Qi said with a laugh. "If your father finds out, who knows how elated and honored he would feel. Furthermore, if they all become people who are under you, then I can naturally consider purging the devilish poison from their bodies." Xuanyuan was stuck in a daze for a little while longer before suddenly and hurriedly saying, "Fine, fine. Lord Saint Emperor, Master, all the various seniors, please rise." At this moment, Yun Qi extended his hand as a dome of emerald green light completely engulfed all of the members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary who had been afflicted by the devilish poison. In the blink of an eye, all of the devilish poison had been completely purged from their bodies. The agony and the feeling of impending death disappeared in this moment, and all of the powerful individuals of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary felt as if they had woken up from a nightmare. They slowly stood up. Every single person's body was drenched in sweat. A few of the great spiritual masters bowed at the same time as they said, "We thank Asgard Master Yun for saving our lives." "There is no need for that. I am merely doing this for Yuanba," Yun Qi said coldly. In that remote corner, Qin Wusheng gave a deep sigh when he saw the members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace escape the grasp of the devilish poison with Yun Qi's help. After that, he said, "Yun Qi has clearly changed. He has become far more warm and compassionate compared to before. All those years ago, he completely obliterated the Burning Heaven clan because of something that any outsider would feel was not too serious. I'm afraid that this is something that no one has ever forgotten." "No," Dongfeng Ziu said while shaking his head. "It is not that his temperament has changed. It is just that the height that he is standing at is no longer the same." "Oh." The reason why the past Yun Qi wanted to exterminate the Burning Heaven clan was not merely due to his fury at the time. He also did it because he had been afraid of the possibility that something from the past would come back and haunt him. But right now, is there still a single person under the heavens that is qualified to cause him fear? Dongfeng Ziu said while chuckling. Qin Wusheng thought about it briefly before he started nodding his head and smiling as well. Our Majesty can finally return as well. With Yun Qi around, I'm afraid that even the previously small Blue Wind Nation is about to become the overlord of the profound Sky Continent. Ha 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 ha! Dongfeng Ziu could not help but break out into a hearty laugh. Who would have guessed that the person Kang Yue, who had changed her name to Lan Zuruo at the time, had found after traveling throughout the entire Blue Wind Nation, would actually soar to such great heights. Furthermore, he had lifted all of Blue Wind Nation with him as well. As a result of the erosion of the devilish poison and the heavy injuries he had already sustained, Xuanyuan Wuyu's aura had become incredibly weak and shallow. He staggered in front of Yun Qi before speaking. "Asgard Master Yun, if not for you, it would not only have been our absolute monarch sanctuary, the entire profound sky continent would have been plunged into a calamity. I, Xuanyuan Wuyu, have tried to harm you twice in the past, and I am well aware that I have no room to beg for forgiveness. Now that absolute monarch sanctuary has been handed over to a new saint emperor, I no longer have any regrets. You are free to do what you want to me." Saint Emperor. Xuanyuan Wuyu's word caused the entire absolute monarch sanctuary to become greatly shocked. Heh, Yun Qi gave a cold snort. "If you want to die, I naturally will not stand in your way. However, it would be best if you didn't hurry to your death in the meantime. Your life still has some use to me." Xuanyuan Wuyu. Yun Qi turned around and faced both Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace before speaking in a deep and booming voice. "The biggest reason for me saving all of you today is because you can still be considered part of the righteous faction. Even though I have gotten rid of the poison plaguing you, it doesn't mean that I have forgotten the resentments and grievances that we share. If you want to continue living in peace and harmony on this continent, then you need to promise me 3 things." The gathered members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace felt a chill run down their spines. The Supreme Ocean Palace's Purple Venerable One asked in an extremely cautious manner, What does Asgard Master Yun desire to inform us about? Our lives were all saved by Asgard Master Yun, so if we are able to do, we will definitely throw all our efforts into accomplishing that mission." "Asgard Master Yun, please speak. We definitely will not reject you," Spiritual Master Bitter Agony said. "Good," Yun Qi said in an extremely calm and tranquil voice as he gave a faint nod of his head. "The first thing I want you to accomplish is this. I don't care what method you use, but there needs to be a spatial teleportation formation within 30 days. The sending point must be situated in the snow region of extreme ice in Blue Wind Nation. The sending point in the illusory demon realm should be set in Demon Imperial City. Naturally, I will be the one to speak to and instruct the people in Demon Imperial City." Everyone glanced at one another after those words. All those years ago, the 4 sacred grounds had joined hands, and they required more than a month to create a spatial tunnel that reached the illusory demon realm from the profound sky continent. If there were only 2 sacred grounds, not only would the task be exceedingly difficult, it would also require them to spend an ungodly amount of resources to do so. But how would they dare reject it? The Supreme Ocean Palace's Venerable Purple immediately said, "Don't worry, Asgard Mazer Yun, we will definitely not disappoint you a month from now." "Very good, let's move on to the second thing," Yun Qi said as his eyes faintly narrowed. "In 30 days' time, after you have completed the spatial teleportation formation, all of you need to use that teleportation formation to go to the Demon Imperial City. Once all of you are there, you need to kowtow and apologize to the illusory Demon Imperial family. If the little demon empress wants to kill any of you, no matter who and how many of you she kills, none of you are allowed to object. This is the evil that all of you have sown, so this is also the result that you have reaped." The faces of the gathered members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace all turned dark, and they were not able to say even a single word. Even though they had been roped into Xuanyuan Wentian's scheme all those years ago, the thing that had pushed them into this scheme was undoubtedly their very own greed. They not only brought a calamity down on Demon Imperial City, they had even made the illusory demon realm out to be some sort of demonic land that was eyeing the profound sky continent covetously to the people in the profound sky continent. They could deny this in front of all the other people under heaven, but how could they try to defend themselves in front of Yun Qi, the demon lord of the illusory demon realm? Even though we were bewitched by that old villain Xuanyuan all those years ago, we still committed a great wrong. At that time, we will definitely go forward to apologize and make amends. If we can come back with our lives, we will also clean up the name of the illusory demon realm within the profound sky continent. Spiritual Master 9 Lamentations spoke in a voice filled with regret. "Very good, now on to the third matter." Yun Qi's gaze slanted to the side as murderous intent radiated from his body. "After 30 days have passed, I do not expect to see Sun, Moon, Divine Hall, or Mighty Heavenly Sword region still on this earth. Those short few words were shockingly in order to completely obliterate Sun Moon Divine Hall and mighty heavenly sword region. It was a merciless and cruel absolute order to destroy those two sacred grounds which had persisted for 10,000 years. When the two sacred grounds, who had been shaking and trembling in fear, heard those unexpected words, they were all so shocked that all the color drained from their bodies. Xuanyuan knelt to the ground immediately as he spoke in a stammer. "Asgard Master Yun, spare our lives, please. We were also forced by the Sword Master. Ah, no, we were forced into this by that evil villain Xuanyuan Wentian. Asgard Master Yun." The gathered divine envoys of Sun Moon Divine Hall hurriedly strode forward, speaking with fear and trepidation. The heavenly monarch was the only person who wanted to swear loyalty to that old villain Xuanyuan. The rest of us definitely did not share his sentiment. We beg Asgard Master Yun to have mercy on us. We will definitely be at your beck and call from now onwards. We will obey every command that you give us without hesitation." "Heh!" Yun Qi gave a cold laugh. "What does you wanting or not wanting to swear fealty to Xuanyuan Wentian have to do with me? I can still choose to forget about the fact that you wanted to kill me, but 100 years ago, both of your sacred grounds joined hands to cause the death of the demon emperor and the deaths of 11 seniors from my illusory demon Yun family. You caused the death of my grandfather, and you even tried to pursue and kill my parents over 20 years ago, nearly consigning them to damnation. You lot also caused me to be separated from my family for more than 20 years while destroying the Xiao family in Floating Cloud City. The killing intent that radiated from Yun Qi's body grew more intense with every word that passed from Yun Qi's lips. He was covered in blood and wounds, and looked as if he was not far from death, but the extremely heavy aura of malevolence that radiated from him caused these powerhouses, who had scaled the very heights of power, to tremble violently. Their chests felt heavy and their hearts were dominated by fear, unable to work up even a single thought to resist. "All of these sins must be paid for with your blood." Yun Qi's words and killing intent caused all of their faces to go even whiter. Xuanyuan had a tragic expression on his face as he shouted, "Asgard Master Yun, we only did as we were ordered. Every wrong has its source and every debt has its debtor. Asgard Master Yun's profound strength covers the sky, and his heart is as broad as the blue ocean. So you definitely will understand the meaning of these words." "Ah, right. Asgard Master Yun has said these words before. The living are always more useful than the dead. Our mighty heavenly sword region is still a peak power that has existed for 10,000 years, so we will definitely be very useful to Asgard Master Yun. Asgard Master Yun has already compassionately and benevolently spared Absolute Monarch's Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace. If you can spare our mighty heavenly sword region as well, everyone who is part of mighty heavenly sword region will completely listen to the commands of Asgard Master Yun. We definitely won't dare to defy you in any way." Xuanyuan words were incomparably petty and pitiful. It was very clear that he was a person who cherished his life. Once Xuanyuan had opened his mouth, the divine envoys of Sun Moon Divine Hall could only grit their teeth and bow while speaking. "In the past, we obeyed every word that proceeded from the lips of the heavenly monarch. We basically had no say in the matter. If we are able to obtain Asgard Master Yun's forgiveness, we will definitely view Asgard Master Yun as our master from now on, and Asgard Master Yun's words will never be defied, even if we were to die 10,000 times." Yun Qi lapsed into a momentary silence before a faint smile suddenly appeared on his face. "Ah, your words have indeed reminded me of something. You're right, two sacred grounds which have persisted for 10,000 years naturally have an ability that far defies the norm. If we can preserve these two powers, it will definitely be countless times more worthwhile than simply killing the lot of you. The two main culprits, Xuanyuan Wentian and Yi Meixi, are already dead. So if I wantonly vented my rage on all of you, then wouldn't it make me out to be a cruel and merciless person?" Yun Qi's words had caused all the members of Sun Moon Divine Hall and mighty heavenly sword region to be filled with joy and hope. After that, Yun Qi continued, "Since that is the case, then I'll let it be. I managed to kill Xuanyuan Wentian today, so I'm in quite a good mood. As long as all of you are sufficiently obedient, I can't be bothered to stain my hands in blood anymore." These words pulled them back from the edge of oblivion. All of the members of Sun Moon Divine Hall and mighty heavenly sword region knelt down as they spoke in an incredibly emotional manner. "We thank Asgard Master Yun for not ending our lives. We swear to follow Asgard Master Yun to our deaths from this day forth." "Fine. Then during this month, the lot of you should help Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace to build that spatial teleportation formation which will link the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm. You'll need to devote all of your efforts to it, and I definitely do not expect to discover any deviations." "Yes, yes, yes," Xuanyuan Bo and the rest of them hurriedly replied. They had just gone to the gates of hell and back, so they were drenched with sweat and they nodded their heads like clockwork. Yun Qi turned around, his back facing Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region. Huanji Wuyu was the person who was closest to him, and when Yun Qi had turned around, he had clearly seen Yun Qi's lips hook up into an incomparably dark and evil smirk. That instant of killing intent was not strong or intense, but it felt like a steel needle that came from the depths of hell itself as it fiercely stabbed at his soul, causing the one who had reigned as emperor over Absolute Monarch Sanctuary for 1,000 years to go completely rigid. A chill spread across his entire body. It did not fade away until much later. Author's note: I received many messages from readers telling me that they could not bear for Fen Juchen to suffer such a fate, and that they hoped that Fen Juchen could be rescued. There were even some who felt that his death was rather sudden, and they even suspected that I simply killed him off in a fit of pique. It looks like there was truly no one who truly noticed the implicit meaning of the name, Fen Juchen. Even though I name my minor characters very casually, that's right, random name generator, the names of the important characters still have some thought behind them. For example, Pajun, Qiushui, Lengya, and Yuanba, all of these names leave some clues as to their personalities and their fates. So the name Fen Juchen basically means being burned down until not even the dust remains. From the moment I gave him that name, it meant that he was fated to meet an end where his body and soul are destroyed. Because his very existence is a tragedy, he was a tool that Xuanyuan Wentian created, and he was also a tool I used to create a big boss. Furthermore, because he had to experience reincarnation using a forbidden art, his soul was already distorted and badly damaged, so he was naturally an extremely solitary and extreme person. Moreover, this is not the same case as it was with Tian Chen's Lengya, where he was cold on the surface but warm on the inside. So I had originally thought that he would be an extremely unlikable character, so I did not expect him to actually be so well received by so many readers. So it looks like he can rest in peace. Resurrection. Youngsters, don't overthink this. The profound sky continent doesn't have 7 Dragon Balls. Even if we could really cross space and reach planet Namk and gather the 7 Dragon Balls to revive him, what good would that do? Xuanyuan Wentian is already dead, so his goal in life has been achieved. All of his relatives are dead and he does not even have a place to return to you. He likes Xiao Lingxi, but Xiao Lingxi only treats him as her benefactor, and her heart continually pines for Yun Qi, his greatest enemy who wiped out his entire family. The revived Fen Juchen is having second thoughts. Forget it, it's better to go die. Shenron MMP. Interlude 2, World-Defying Heaven Manual in Another World. The surface of the ground was slightly golden in color, and even the sky revealed a pure, light golden color. The elemental energy floating between the heaven and earth was extremely pure, and the degree of its density had far surpassed profound sky continent by several dozens of times. The height of the elemental law here had even surpassed the range of understanding of even the strongest expert in profound sky continent. An enormous palace stood in immediate sight and was towering like a mountain. Glistening with a golden glow, it exuded a formless pressure comparable to the might of heaven and earth. Even if peerless experts were here, their hearts would still palpitate deeply under this terrifying pressure, as though they were carrying 15 tons. Behind the divine palace was a garden as enormous as a country. In the garden, a fragrant aroma suffused the air and hundreds of flowers bloomed. Every single flower was twinkling with an unbelievably beautiful radiance, as if each were the world's most exquisite gemstone. Standing quietly at the very center of the garden was the elegant figure of a woman. Dressed in golden clothes, she had dazzling golden hair that extended down to her hips. Her golden clothes were slightly tight, which outlined the back of a bewitching figure that could drive one to insanity. She quietly stood under a glazed jade tree, seemingly enjoying the view or perhaps deep in thought. A natural and gentle layer of golden light was faintly flowing around her body. Though it was just her figure from behind, the sea of flowers that extended tens of thousands of kilometers was entirely overshadowed by this peerlessly beautiful shape. At this moment, a fragrant wind whisked over from the southern direction, and the tens of thousands of flowers swayed gently. Very quickly, a woman dressed entirely in tight silver armor descended from the sky and knelt behind the woman with dazzling long, golden hair. Her head was lowered as if she did not dare to look straight at her figure, even if it was just her back. "Servant Fu Xian greets Lady Goddess." "What is it?" The woman with the golden hair did not turn around. Completely different from her dreamy and beautiful figure, her voice exuded an incomparably heavy might. Replying to Lady Goddess, news came from the Star God realm. "The Heaven Slaughter Star God has returned to the Star God realm," the woman who referred herself as Fu Xian reported. The woman with the golden hair was silent for a short while before she coldly said, "Did she just return?" "No, according to reliable sources, the Heaven Slaughter Star God returned to the Star God realm 4 months ago. Because she had been recuperating all this while, the Star God realm had intentionally sealed this piece of news. It seems the rumors of an universe-devouring beast having once encountered her back then was completely true. Recuperating? Do you know why she is still alive? In reply to my lady, according to rumors, after she was struck with the absolute God-slaying poison back then, she coincidentally found an excellent soul carrier. Thus, she forcefully abandoned her own flesh and attached her soul onto another person's body, preventing herself from facing death. Only recently did she reconstruct her flesh and is presently recuperating and recovering her divine energy. It's estimated that in another few more months, she will recover completely. "HMPH, I see," the woman with golden hair coldly snorted. "I never expected that the absolute God-slaying poison would not be able to take her life either. Her luck is much better than that naive, serious star god. It seems this is all there is to the so-called heaven-defying fatal devil poison of the southern god region. And I even believed them about that much as well." Fu Xian was startled for a moment before she subconsciously said, "Could it be that the scheme by the northern god region against the heaven slaughter star god back then was my lady's?" The moment she said this, Fu Xian's expression instantly turned deathly pale. She hurriedly prostrated and said with a trembling voice, "This servant deserves death. This servant speaks too much. I beg my lady to forgive me. How many people are still alive in southern summer divine country?" The woman with golden hair suddenly asked. Not a single bit of emotion could be heard from her voice. "My lady, it's already confirmed that there are still 4,260,000,000 people still residing in southern summer divine country." Fu Xian's voice was still trembling a little. "I'll give you 15 days. Yes, yes, this servant shall handle it now." Fu Xian stood up with jitters as she took 2 shivering steps back. Only then did she fly up into the sky and instantly disappear within the sea of tens of thousands of flowers. "Yue Ying, come out," the woman with golden hair coldly said, and she still did not turn around. The moment her voice fell, the space 5 feet behind her suddenly shook. The graceful and delicate figure of a woman walked out of the spatial ripples and deeply bowed. The voluminous mounds on her chest, wrapped in silver cloth, slightly shook. "Servant Yue Ying greets Lady Goddess. Why are you here?" "To reply, lady, there has been progress in the deciphering of the World-Defying Heaven Manual," Yue Ying respectfully replied. "What?" The woman with golden hair, who had been as quiet as ice this entire time, instantly turned around when she heard these words, revealing a face that was half glowing gold. Her dazzling long gold hair smoothly sprinkled onto her shoulders. An eye mask colored in gold that was comparable to the wings of a phoenix covered her mysterious eyes. Below her eye mask was a pair of glittering, polished lips. And from this pair of lips, that were even more delicate than the lily of the Nile, what came out was the coldest and the most heartless voice. "Speak now." Though only the bottom half of her face was revealed, none would suspect that she was not a peerless beauty at first glance. Her lips and her lustrous jade-like neck alone were beautiful to the point of stifling. Yet, no matter how powerful one may be, under the ice-cold and heavy atmosphere from her body, one would still unconsciously bow his or her head and tremble in front of her. Deciphering the World-Defying Heaven Manual was the biggest matter to this woman with golden hair, and it could even be called the most important matter ever since she was born. Yue Ying hurriedly said in a respectful tone, "In reply to my lady, within the divine texts of the World-Defying Heaven Manual, there was a short verse which was similar to a diagram stated in ancient records. After repeated investigations, the meaning behind that verse of divine texts has been confirmed. 9 profound, exquisite body. 9 profound, exquisite body? The golden brows hidden under the eye mask slightly twitched. Could it be that one has to possess the 9 profound, exquisite body to cultivate the world-defying heaven manual? About this point, this servant is not sure. However, that verse of divine text is referring to the 9 profound, exquisite body. This point should not be wrong, Yue Ying respectfully said. HMPH, within a span of 8 years, only 4 words have been deciphered. Truly a bunch of useless trash. The voice of the woman with golden hair suddenly turned cold. Yue Ying's body shivered as she said with a trembling voice, "Lady, please cease your anger. When it comes to divine texts of the absolute beginning, even in the primordial era, not many gods or devils recognize them either. Wanting to forcefully decipher them is really, HMPH, no need for an explanation," the woman with golden hair coldly said. "Deciphering the divine texts of the absolute beginning is indeed as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, if a mortal can cultivate the world-defying heaven manual, he or she will have the possibility of becoming a true god." This might sound absolutely astonishing and sound akin to myth, but this was clearly engraved on the totem in the god realm of absolute beginning. Since the world-defying heaven manual is now in my hands, it must be an ancient opportunity bestowed on me by the Brahma monarch god realm. No matter what, it must be deciphered. If I can become a true god, HMPH, the primal chaos dimension, the millions of galaxies, will all serve under our Brahma monarch god realm. "Yes," Yue Ying anxiously replied. "This servant shall continue to head to the various large galaxies and obtain even more intellectuals who are familiar with ancient texts. Remember, you must be the only one heading out. Not even the slightest of trace and rumor should be exposed. Otherwise," the words of the woman with golden hair stopped there. The killing intent at that moment had instantly frozen the world of countless flowers. "This servant understands," Yue Ying said with a trembling voice. "If there's any anomalies, this servant will immediately cut off her own life vein so that not the slightest trace will be exposed." "Very good, go on then." "Yes. Wait a minute." Just as Yue Ying was about to leave, the woman with golden hair suddenly stopped her again and slowly said, "Send some subordinates to the lower realms and search for people who possess the 9 profound, exquisite body." "Lower realms?" Yue Ying's face was filled with doubts. Possessors of the 9 profound, exquisite body are hard to search for even among 1,000,000,000,000 people, but the possessors would definitely be women. Since the world-defying heaven manual brought up that cultivating it would require the 9 profound, exquisite body, then I naturally have to make early preparations. "But why do we have to look for one in the lower realms?" Yue Ying asked, unable to understand. "When possessors of 9 profound, exquisite body have low, profound cultivation, their profound energy will reveal a unique free-flowing state, and it's easily discernible by people who are aware of this characteristic of the 9 profound, exquisite body. If their unleashed profound energy can break the laws of realm boundaries to a certain extent, then it's possible to ascertain that they undoubtedly possess the 9 profound, exquisite body. However, this profound energy characteristic weakens as their profound energy becomes richer, and if they step into the divine way, this characteristic will completely disappear. Thus, locating one in the higher realms is difficult and hard to control as well. As for the rest, there's no need to ask further. After locating someone who possessed the 9 profound, exquisite body, I have my own plans. Yes. Also, inform Royal Father that I'm prepared to step into the God realm of absolute beginning." The woman with golden hair slightly raised her neck, which was whiter than pure white jade. "Ah," Yue Ying revealed an astonished look. "My lady, that place is truly too dangerous. Though you made use of the Sirius star god back then to obtain the world-defying heaven manual, you still suffered an injury that nearly cost you your life, and you only managed to recover after several years of recuperation. If you forcefully enter it again with my lady's temper, it's truly too dangerous. My lady, please think over this decision again." "No need for further commentary," the woman with golden hair coldly said. "The world-defying heaven manual that I obtained is evidently a mere fragment, and at the very most, it's only a third of the entire manual. Looking from the residual marks, there's definitely at least another 2 world-defying heaven manuals scattered in the world. If I can't locate the complete world-defying heaven manual and hold only a fragment of it, even if it's completely deciphered, it's of no use either. The remaining 2 world-defying heaven manuals are most likely scattered in the God realm of absolute beginning as well. Even if that's the case," Yue Ying still wanted to comment further, but when she spoke halfway, a chill ran down her spine, and she hurriedly changed her words. This servant shall immediately relay my lady's words to my king. However, excuse this servant for being blunt, but my king will definitely oppose my lady's decision as well. He will naturally oppose it, which is also why I'm having you to relay my words to my royal father. The voice of the woman with golden hair was completely devoid of emotions. Tomorrow, I shall break into the god realm of absolute beginning, and it shall only be me alone. Inform my royal father only the day after. As for the star god realm, the heaven slaughter star god will definitely come to kill me once her divine power is restored. Have my royal father first think of a way to deal with that. Yes. Yue Ying had no choice but to helplessly respond in agreement. After taking 2 steps back, she lightly rose. The 2 voluminous peaks in front of her chest drew a beautiful arc in the sky as she quickly left the world of countless flowers. World-Defying Heaven Manual, divine practitioners shall defy the world, mortal practitioners shall attain godhood. Within the countless flowers, the woman with golden hair lightly whispered, in this world where the gods have long since disappeared, it is time for the birth of a new divine being. Chapter 918, Temporary Truce. The expression in Yun Qi's eyes changed at that instant. No one else noticed except for Huangji Wuyu. Seeing Yun Qi had pardoned Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region at the same time, the members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace were a little surprised, but were also secretly relieved. Because just like them, Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region were also both sacred grounds. If forceful extermination were to be executed, it could be done, but it would no doubt severely harm their own vitality. What are you all still doing here? Noticing that there were suddenly no movements behind him, Yun Qi slanted his eyes. Go back to where you came from. There is still quite a mess to clean up from Supreme Ocean Palace. I have no time to keep you all here. Regarding the teleportation formation, start preparing it with all your energy starting tomorrow. It must be completed within a month's time. Yun Qi's words made everyone who was in a panic feel relieved. Anyone in their right mind would not be willing to stay before an evil god who could decide their life and death as he wished. Especially the people of Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region. Until this moment, they hadn't completely believed that Yun Qi was really letting them off the hook as they backed away in panic and prepared to leave. Yun Qi turned around at this moment, glanced towards Mighty Heavenly Sword region and suddenly said, "Wait!" The sound of his voice targeted one person's back, making him know immediately that this calling was to him. His footsteps stopped immediately. He paused there for the time of many breaths before turning around. He faced Yun Qi and said with profound respect and humility, "Asgard Master Yun, you were calling for me. Isn't this Ling Kun, Senior Ling?" Yun Qi slowly walked toward him with a slight smile hanging from the corner of his mouth. "Speaking of which, I have known Senior Ling for 6 or 7 years, and you are the first person I met from the sacred grounds. Back then in Heavenly Sword Villa, Senior Ling even invited me to join Mighty Heavenly Sword region. At the time, I was extremely overwhelmed by flattery and honor." Ling Kun's face immediately showed an overwhelming flattery. "I can't believe Asgard Master Yun still remembers of this. This is really, this humble one's honor." Everyone who were preparing to leave all turned around at the same time with confusion on their faces. Especially the people of Mighty Heavenly Sword region, they were all gazing at each other speechlessly. "We are old friends, but Senior Ling, you were going to leave without even greeting me at all. Isn't that a bit heartless?" Yun Qi was smiling, but there was darkness hiding behind his smile. Ling Kun's profound strength was in the late state of Tyrant Profound Realm. In Mighty Heavenly Sword region, this was below the average, but he was listed as one of the elders. This was because of his extraordinary scheming mind and his extensive knowledge and experience. He would not have truly believed that the reason Yun Qi stopped him was just to talk about the old days. He gritted his teeth secretly, but his expression was still fearful. "Asgard Master Yun exaggerates. Asgard Master Yun is now a god of heaven. You're no longer the same as before. This humble one, how would this humble one be qualified to speak and establish friendship with someone as highly regarded as yourself? Establishing friendship is indeed not needed." The murderous intentions in Yun Qi's eyes were suddenly released undisguised at this moment. "But shouldn't you explain this to me, the current Asgard Master of Frozen Cloud Asgard? Why did Yi Xinghin attack Frozen Cloud Asgard in the first place?" Yi Xinghin was hiding in the crowd of people from Sun Moon Divine Hall, afraid that Yun Qi was going to see him. when he suddenly heard his own name from Yun Qi's mouth. He was so frightened that his steps became unstable as he fell and kneeled directly onto the ground, unable to stand up for quite a while. Ling Kun's body became stiff, but his reaction was extremely fast. He said with his face full of confusion, What does Asgard Master Yun mean by this? This humble one really doesn't understand. Then I will make you understand. Yun Qi's expression suddenly darkened. He grabbed outward with his right hand, and Ling Kun was sucked directly toward it in an instant. Asgard Master Yun, you! Ling Kun's eyes bulged. He was only able to say a few words before groaning and letting Yun Qi's profound handle invade his heart and soul, completely losing his consciousness. The people of mighty heavenly sword region saw this, but none of them dared to come forward. All of them kept silent like a cicada in late autumn. Yun Qi used the profound handle to quickly scan Ling Kun's memory, and his eyebrows lowered suddenly. Just as he suspected, Xianxia's information was indeed sold by Ling Kun to Yi Xinghen after the Blue Wind ranking tournament. There were many records of the 9 profound exquisite body in ancient books preserved in the 4 great sacred grounds, even though no one has ever seen it. That day Ling Kun referenced the unique characteristics of the 9 profound exquisite bodies' profound energy according to the ancient books. Then, seeing with his own eyes that Xianxia actually used the power of the domain that could only be performed by the Emperor Profound Realm, while she was only in the Earth Profound Realm herself. He was sure that Xianxia could very possible own the 9 profound exquisite body that was recorded in the ancient records. It was also recorded in the ancient books that one who possessed the 9 profound exquisite body could form a small independent world in their own body. It was a perfect dual cultivation incubator that was extremely rare. He didn't tell this to the people of mighty heavenly sword region, but instead sold this information to Yi Xinghen to maximize the profit. At the same time, behind this scheme, there was also another person's evil intent, Xuanyuan Wentian. Chu Yuechen was always on Ling Yuefeng's mind, and Ling Yun was obviously obsessed with Xianxia so much that his mind was unhinged because of her. Because of Xuanyuan Wentian's strong jealousy and anger, not only did she send people after Chu Yuechen to kill her, she even asked Ling Kun for the help of mighty heavenly sword region to destroy frozen cloud Asgard. Ling Kun agreed to her request, and the selected method he chose was precisely to borrow the skills of Yi Xinghen. He took back the profound handle, and Ling Kun's eyes returned focus. He looked at Yun Qi with his eyes widened and said frightenedly, What did you do to me? Whoosh. Accompanied with the sound of Ling Kun's scream, flames burst out of Yun Qi's hand and instantly turned Ling Kun into a human torch. In the next instant, his entire body had dissolved in the flames and completely became ashes. Gulp! The throats of those from mighty heavenly sword region squirmed as their bodies stiffened. Yun Qi lowered his arm and didn't forget to dust off his hands. His eyes then switched focus, and he walked towards Yi Xinghen with a casual pace. Yi Xinghen, who thought he was safe originally, met Yun Qi's eyes. All of the hairs on his body immediately stood on end as he felt like he was falling into a deep abyss. He shivered while backing up. Yun Qi, what are you doing? Don't come over here, don't come over here. The divine envoys and many elders of Sun Moon Divine Hall encircled Yi Xinghen. It felt wrong moving either forward or backward. They were well aware of the grievances between Yi Xinghen and Yun Qi. He had first forced Yun Qi and Feng Zuer to almost die in the primordial profound arc, and then later he sent people to attack frozen cloud Asgard. But Yun Qi was now the Asgard master of frozen cloud Asgard. I am going to kill your young master. Are you going to try stop me? Yun Qi glanced at the Sun Moon Divine Envoys and the Elders, and said in an extremely calm tone. When Yun Qi looked over, the Sun Moon Divine Envoys and Elders all showed nervousness, and Yi Xinghen had already fallen to the ground on his bottom while desperately trying to move backwards. No, don't come over here, save me, save me. Suddenly there was a pungent odor, and a filthy puddle appeared under Yi Xinghen's body. He was so frightened that peed himself under the gaze of Yun Qi. The leader of the Divine Envoys, Divine Envoy Heaven's equal, gritted his teeth. His steps were slow, but he continued to back up for many steps. Under this action of his, the other Divine Envoys and Elders almost all started backing up at the same time. In the blink of an eye, they were already many feet away from Yi Xinghen. If it was someone like Huangji Wuyu instead who was focusing on them, they would absolutely fight back together. But facing Yun Qi, not only would it be impossible for their resistance to save Yi Xinghen, It could even ruin the precarious chance for survival that Sun-Moon Divine Hall had earned. Therefore, giving up on this young master who was not popular to begin with was no question the wisest and sanest choice. You all! Yi Xinghan was so frightened that his face lost its color. His face was so pale that it looked like a wall that had been polished with sandpaper. No, no, don't kill me, don't kill me. Yi Xinghan. Yuanqi slowly walked towards him and said without emotion, "You father just died before your eyes. As his son, even if you can't retrieve his corpse, you should go down there and pick up some of his ashes. If you leave just like that, that would be an unfilial action. When you go to the underworld, I'm afraid even your father wouldn't let you off the hook." You, Yi Xinghan's face turned from white to green. His mouth was wide open, and his body was all curled up while strange, twisted sounds come out from his throat. "Back then, you almost killed me, almost killed my Zuer, killed the previous Asgard mistress and grand Asgard mistress of Frozen Cloud Asgard. If I didn't get there just in time, all of Frozen Cloud Asgard would have been destroyed by your hands. How do you propose I make you pay this debt? Should I strip your skin and tendons or chop off your limbs and turn you into a human swine, making you wish you were dead?" Yuanqi's face completely darkened. Each word revealed infinite malice. Everyone who heard this was trembling with chills down their backs. Yi Xinghan stared fixedly with bloodshot eyes. Streaks of blood covered every corner of his eyeballs. The color of his face had turned from green into an extremely abnormal dark gray. Strange noises kept flowing out from his throat, yet he couldn't spit out a full word. And then with his eyes opened, he fell straight down and no longer moved. The white foam mixed with blood gushed out of his mouth insanely. The entire ocean palace was dead silent. The odor coming from Yi Xinghan was still hanging in the air. Yuanqi glanced at Yi Xinghan and turned around in silence. These so-called young masters that grew up revered by all were usually even more scared of death than ordinary people. He didn't even have to kill this Yi Xinghan himself. The person in question actually got scared to death by fractures in his liver and gall bladder. The death of Yi Xinghan did not result in Sun-Moon Divine Hall's sadness or unwillingness. On the contrary, it made them feel extremely humiliated, as if they had lost all their dignity. If he severed his own life vein, it could still be said that he had perished to preserve Sun-Moon Divine Hall's upright name. But with all eyes focused on him, without Yuanqi laying a single finger on him, he peed himself and then got scared to death. It was highly probable that he was the first overlord in the history of the profound sky continent that got scared to death. 10,000 years of Sun-Moon Divine Hall's dignity vanished with his death. "Let's go," Divine Envoy Heaven's equal gritted his teeth in exasperation of the failure, turned, and left without concerning himself with Yi Xinghan's body. Simultaneously, everyone else followed behind. No one went to take Yi Xinghan's body, not even a second look was given. "Let us leave as well." Those of Mighty Heavenly Sword Region all gathered and prepared to leave. At the edge of Mighty Heavenly Sword Region's line, there was an equally unique existence, Heavenly Sword Villa. Ling Yuefeng and Xuanyuan Wentian were brought to participate in the Heavenly Sovereign Conference by Xuanyuan Jiu in an attempt to make an appearance in front of Xuanyuan Wentian and become the first group of people to swear their loyalty and to achieve a higher position for Heavenly Sword Villa in the continent. But they had not expected a result like this. Not even in their wildest dreams, they didn't see Xuanyuan Wentian become the Heavenly Sovereign. Instead, he was burned to dust. What they witnessed was the birth of the true ruler of the continent. This young man with undisputed strength who had become the absolute ruler of the continent possessed many grudges and much history with their Heavenly Sword Villa. Xuanyuan Jiu pulled the two of them up. Just when they were about to leave, a shadow swung before them and Yuanqi's cold face appeared before their eyes. "Yuanqi!" Ling Yuefeng was so surprised that he almost took a step back. What are you going to do?" Xuanyuan Jiu was also trembling with fear. He hid Xuanyuan Wentian behind him as his arms shivered uncontrollably. "Don't worry," Yuanqi smiled coldly. "Xuanyuan Wentian, even though you are a bitch who deserves to die 10,000 times, you gave birth to a good son. You know, even if I kill you now, Ling Jai wouldn't hate me for all his life. But that's also why I can't kill you." Being insulted as a bitch by Yuanqi, if it was in the past, Xuanyuan Wentian would definitely jump on him recklessly. But facing Yuanqi, who killed Xuanyuan Wentian and made the 4 great sacred grounds bow down to him, she couldn't go wild anymore. Her lips turned purple, but she couldn't say a word. Yun Qi gripped his hands lightly, trying to hold back his impulse to kill Xuanyuan Yufeng, due to the words that Jasmine left, telling him that he might not be able to see Chu Yuchen and their child in his life ever. He hated Xuanyuan Yufeng to the bones. But that day at Heavenly Sword Villa, when Ling Jai stabbed his sword at his own throat, wanting to trade his own life for Xuanyuan Yufeng's life, Yun Qi was bound to not be able to kill Xuanyuan Yufeng anymore. And he himself was the main cause of everything that had happened. Since everything had already happened, there was no reason to put pain on Ling Jai for the rest of his life. After all, in this dangerous world, Ling Jai only had a few people who treated him truly with all of their hearts. Yun Qi turned around so as to not look at Xuanyuan Yufeng's face. His murderous intent had just started to calm down. He said in a deep voice, "Xuanyuan Yufeng, even though I really want to cut you into pieces, I won't kill you today. But you'd better keep in mind never to appear in Heavenly Sword Villa ever again. Never let me see you again or else." Yun Qi took a deep breath, then instantaneously shifted far away. "Go hurry." As if they had just walked through the gates of hell, Xuanyuan, Ju's forehead was already covered in sweat. He took Ling Yuefeng and Xuanyuan Yufeng in a panic and flew far away at his fastest speed. Author's note: few finally finished handling these side characters' affairs, but we're still not going to head to the God realms just yet, because before that there are still 2 gigantic plot holes in the Profound Sky Continent. Profound Sky Continent. Hehe, I bet you did not expect that. Chapter 919. Uncontrollable Longing Sun Moon Divine Hall, Mighty Heavenly Sword Region, and profound practitioners from each nation all left one after another in panic. None of them dared to fight against an evil god. Xuanyuan's physique was already different from ordinary people. After being healed slightly by Yun Qi using the energy of heaven and earth, Yuanba had surprisingly already recovered within a short amount of time. Looking at the people around them leaving one by one, he came before Yun Qi with a few steps. Yuanba couldn't contain the excitement in his heart as he said, "Brother-in-law, you have actually become this strong. How did you do it? Could it be that your master has returned? I'll tell you more about it in the future." Yun Qi smiled and said, "Yuanba, Zuer and I will be returning to the illusory demon realm soon, else they will definitely worry. Do you want to return with us?" Xuanyuan's eyes lit up, but they were clouded by hesitation immediately afterward. In the end, he shook his head. "Forget it, I'll just return later. Out of the blue, I became the sanctuary's master, so leaving it all of a sudden doesn't seem like a good idea. I should return to the sanctuary first." "Ha, you're right," Yun Qi laughed loudly. "Brother-in-law," Xuanyuan's voice lowered, "you're not really going to let Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword Region off the hook like this." Yun Qi smiled and said, "Yuanba, don't worry. Those of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary belong to you now. I would certainly not do anything to harm them, and I wholeheartedly believe that even though you are still a bit immature now, Absolute Monarch Sanctuary will become better in the future under your leadership." Xuanyuan scratched his head and said softly, "To be honest, I'm not confident at all. But I have full confidence in you. After all, you are someone with the tyrannical emperor's heart." There was some mysteriousness to Yun Qi's words, but he then changed the subject and said, "However, I am very serious about the teleportation formation. For this month, lead Absolute Monarch Sanctuary in focusing on building teleportation formation first. Remember, when working with Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword Region, make good use of their resources. Right now they are a bunch of anxious, headless snakes. They will desperately want to perform well at this task that I ordered. Don't be unwilling to use them." Even though the primordial Profound Ark had an incomparable strong space-traveling ability, it held an enormous individual world within. Every time it traveled, it did not only transport 1 or 2 person but an entire world. Because of this, it consumed an incredibly large amount of energy. Even with the Jade of the 9 Suns support, it couldn't withstand such reckless consumption, especially after a round trip to the Azure Cloud continent. The energy left in the primordial Profound Ark was immediately down to less than 20%. Both the Profound Sky Continent and the illusory Demon Realm were Yun Qi's homes, so he would definitely travel back and forth between the 2 continents frequently. Because of this, building a large enough dimensional teleportation formation was something that had to be done. And only the 4 great sacred grounds had sufficient ability and resources to build a teleportation formation connecting the 2 continents. I understand." Xuanyuan nodded with some confusion. Also, take care of 2 people from Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region for me. Yun Qi's eyes narrowed slightly. Who? Xuanyuan Wentian, the young sword master of Mighty Heavenly Sword region who was crippled by me, and the 10th elder of Sun Moon Divine Hall, Xuanyuan. Ah! Xuanyuan was stunned and said confusedly, take care of them how? Just make sure nothing fatal happens to them. I have use for them in a month, Yun Qi said. Xuanyuan looked puzzled. Just as he was about to keep asking questions, he saw Dongfang Ziu and Qin Wusheng approaching together behind Yun Qi, looking rather nervous. He immediately yelled, Palace Chief Dongfeng, Palace Chief Qin, you two are here too. Dongfeng Ziu and Qin Wusheng walked over and bowed at the same time, but before their bodies bent, Yun Qi and Xuanyuan had already both avoided it. Yun Qi immediately said, 2 palace chiefs, we were both once the official disciples of Blue Wind Profound Palace. We cannot accept this grand courtesy. Yes, yes, yes. Xuanyuan nodded right away. Qin Wusheng sighed deeply. Historically, my Blue Wind Profound Palace has always been an insignificant existence in the profound sky continent, akin to dust. Even in Blue Wind Nation, we are the laughingstock of those powerful sects. Now, of 2 people who have walked out of my Blue Wind Profound Palace, one has become the Saint Emperor of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary, and the other could be called the ruler of everything under heaven. As one of its palace chiefs, I cannot describe this dreamlike glory with any words. Palace chiefs, you have exaggerated. I believe you 2 want to ask about Empress Kang Yue? Yun Qi said. The 2 of them nodded. Dongfeng Ziu said, Her Majesty has temporarily left for several months now. Seeing Asgard Master Yun's glory today, Her Majesty will certainly be well. You 2 can rest assured. Yun Qi smiled and said, Now that Xuanyuan Wentian is dead, there is nothing in this world that can threaten the safety of her and Blue Wind Nation. There was not a day that Blue Wind Nation was not on her mind during her days in the illusory demon realm. In a month, when the teleportation formation is built, she will return to the imperial household. In this month I will have to trouble you 2 again. If so, then we will rest assured. The 2 palace chiefs smiled delightfully. Venerable Purple, Yun Qi's tone sharpened as he commanded, send someone to guard the 2 palace chiefs on their trip back to Blue Wind Nation. Venerable Purple turned around, hesitated for a moment, and immediately walked forward. He said rather respectfully, Yes, esteemed guests, please. Being called esteemed guests by a sacred grounds venerable one, and even being guarded on their return trip left the 2 palace chiefs extremely flattered. Even their footsteps seemed lighter when they left. Members of Divine Phoenix sect approached. Leading the crowd was Feng Henkong. He looked at Yun Qi, then shifted his gaze to Feng Zuer. His mouth opened and closed in silence for a while before he finally spoke with a complicated look. Yun Qi, bring Zuer back to Phoenix City to visit often. Royal Father, now that big brother Yun is this strong, he will no longer be in danger like before. I will come back to visit often with big brother Yun. If you really care, you could try to open up 1 or 2 dimensional profound formations from floating Cloud City or snow region of extreme ice to Phoenix City. This way, if Zuer wants to go back, wouldn't it be more convenient? Yun Qi said without expression. Feng Henkong's eyes brightened and nodded his head slightly. Divine Phoenix sect would not be able to construct a dimensional teleportation formation connecting 2 continents but connecting 2 nations was not something difficult. Zuer, Feng Henkong hesitated for a long while, but in the end he still didn't tell her about Feng Ziming. He said unwillingly, We're leaving. There are still a lot of things to be taken care of in Phoenix City. You have to take care of yourself, don't let yourself suffer. Absolute Monarch Sanctuary, Sun Moon Divine Hall, and Mighty Heavenly Sword region left one after another, and Supreme Ocean Palace began cleaning up after the mess. Divine Phoenix sect were the last ones to leave. When they had arrived, they prepared their resolve to face death. As they prepared to leave, however, they felt a sense of relaxation that they had never experienced before. This was due to the fact that not only had their Divine Phoenix sect completely escaped from the danger of being destroyed, their new Phoenix god had truly awakened. Also, she was obviously stronger than the ancestral Phoenix god. After bidding farewell to Xuanyuan, who had just become the new emperor of the sanctuary, Yun Qi brought Zuer back to the illusory demon realm that same day, then informed his parents and the little demon empress of Xuanyuan Wentian's death. This news spread very quickly in Demon Imperial City. Without a doubt, the Demon Imperial City that was suppressed in shadows for many months burst into cheers. This was not simply the death of one enemy. It was a development that pulled Demon Imperial City and the entire illusory demon realm out of the abyss of destruction. Demon Imperial City completely lifted their defenses. Those who had escaped Demon Imperial City also returned. The horrible disaster that was thought to happen at any moment had utterly vanished. On the profound sky continent, the four great sacred grounds spared no effort building the dimensional teleportation profound formation that Yuan-Chi demanded. Xuanyuan Wentian was dead, and his dream of becoming the ruler of everything under heaven was completely crushed. The four great sacred grounds had experienced Xuanyuan Wentian's terror firsthand, so it was not difficult to imagine the strength of Yuan-Chi, who had defeated Xuanyuan Wentian. From this day on, they knew clearly in their hearts that they were no longer the top existences in the profound sky continent. Above them appeared someone who could decide their life and death at will. This person was also someone that they wronged multiple times before, and on top of that, someone they previously conspired against. This gave them no choice but to fear Yuan-Chi, no choice but to be as humble and as careful as possible. They didn't dare slack off at all in his demand for a dimensional teleportation formation. After Divine Phoenix Sect returned to Divine Phoenix Nation, they started repairing Phoenix City. Feng Hengkong didn't take Yuan-Chi's words as a careless suggestion. Instead, he immediately sent out two groups of people to Floating Cloud City and Snow Region of Extreme Ice to start the construction of dimensional profound formations connecting the three locations. Yuan-Chi's name was unquestionably once again spread to every corner of the profound sky continent. Only this time, it was hundreds or thousands of times more shocking than any other time before. In merely a couple of days, he was titled by the profound sky continent as #1 throughout all of history. Yet Yuan-Chi did not pay attention to any of this. After he returned to the illusory demon realm, he quietly recuperated. After 7 or 8 days, his wounds healed completely. Early in the morning, the sun was already up. The sunlight seeped in from underneath the bamboo window and fell onto Yuan-Chi's body. His eyelids moved a little as he mumbled, "Jasmine, what time is it now?" He didn't get any response. Yuan-Chi slowly opened his eyes and sat up from the bed. Looking at the snow-white walls, his eyes lost focus. Jasmine had already been gone for many months, but he still hadn't completely walked out of this reality, or rather, he still hadn't been able to completely accept this reality. Previously, after Jasmine had left, he encountered moonflowers set up and was at the brink of death. Afterwards, he was constantly under the shadow of Xuanyuan Wentian and didn't have time to care for anything else. Now that Xuanyuan Wentian was dead, there was no one else who could threaten him any more in this world. With his heart and mind in complete relaxation, his longing for Jasmine came gushing out and couldn't be stopped. In his life, the closest person to him was Xia Olinxi, but the person who understood him the best had to be Jasmine. At first, they were just purely using each other, but their relationship changed slowly without them noticing. Until later on, they were no longer just relying on each other emotionally. It became an almost instinctive habit. When Jasmine truly left him, he realized that it was not merely a separation in distance. It was clearly as if his body and soul were being rent. It was utterly irreparable and would stay eternally broken. "Jas, mine," he called out faintly and lifted his head towards the sky. "Where are you?" He remained dazed for a few minutes, then left the bed and came outside of the courtyard. It was still early, and with the lifting of defenses, Yun family's disciples, who had been tense for many months, were all resting at this time of the day. Because their resting time was increased, it was very quiet in the surrounding area. Yuan-Chi walked very far and saw a middle-aged man in simple white clothing practicing martial arts slowly under an old tree. When Yuan-Chi saw him, he also happened to see Yuan-Chi. He stopped what he was doing and smiled gently. "Chair, you're awake quite early." "You're the one awake too early, Senior Su. Your wounds are not fully healed yet, don't push yourself." Yuan-Chi approached and said. Su Hengxian smiled lightheartedly, patted his chest, and said, "It's been fine for a long time already. Senior Yungu really is like a medical saint of legend. His medical skills are really miraculous. Things like a severing my own life vein, I always thought that even if the great firmament golden deity was here, it still couldn't be healed. I never thought that under the miraculous hands of Senior Yungu, I am now almost as good as someone who has never been hurt." "Of course," Yuan-Chi also smiled. "At most, in roughly half a month, Senior Su's profound energy will also completely recover. Has Senior Su gotten used to living here during your recovery?" Su Hengxian held his smile back slightly, but he said even more gently, "About that, I feel quite ashamed." Even though I am the master of a sect, the times that I have stepped out of the river east do not add up to much. Originally, I thought it would be difficult to get used to a different kind of life, but contrary to my expectations, I am actually extremely relaxed here. Xianxian smiled and shook his head. These days could even be considered the most comfortable days in all my life. I actually don't even miss life back at Grandwake Sect. It seems like I really am not suitable to be a sect master. This is especially so seeing that Linger is safe, found you, and is fortunate enough to have the medical saint become her master. Her smile grows warmer by the day, and it makes me realize how stupid it was for me to sever my own life vein that day. If I really had died, I cannot imagine what would have become of the smile on Linger's face. Back then I was really reckless and stupid. Thinking back to that day when he severed his own life vein in order to not become a burden on Yun Qi so that he could rescue Linger without holding anything back, he still felt a lingering fear. As long as Senior Su likes it here, from now on, feel free to treat this as your home. Also, Yun Qi smiled mysteriously, actually, the thing that Linger worried most about is Senior Su's marriage life. Since you have started a new life in a new world, after Senior Su's wound is fully healed, you should start considering finding your soulmate in your new life. Xianxian was stunned. He obviously had never considered this question. He responded awkwardly, Linger's mother passed away early. Father, big brother Yun Qi, how come you two are both up this early? While the two men were conversing, they heard a voice that sounded like the spring water in a quiet valley. Linger walked towards them with light footsteps, smiled, and looked at the two most important men in her life. What are you two talking about? Of course it's matters between men, Yun Qi smiled and said. Linger's pink lips opened slightly and said with her nose up high, could you two be talking about something bad? Big brother Yun Qi, you cannot turn my father into a playboy like you. Yun Qi felt embarrassed all of a sudden, and Xianxian had already burst into laughter. Father, this is not funny. You don't know that big brother Yun Qi has sister Kang Yue, sister Zhu, even the little demon empress, and he married another sister when he was only 16. Linger didn't need to hide anything in front of her father and started counting all of Yun Qi's crimes. At the very end, she added, this is not the same big brother Yun Qi that I knew in the past. Ha 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 ha. Xianxian laughed even harder. Who didn't know Yun Qi's name in Demon Imperial City? These days, he had already known about Yun Qi's complicated situation. He smiled and said, Linger, when you first met Chair, you were only 10. Of course it would be different. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Linger came forward and grabbed Yun Qi's arm. Big brother Yun Qi, I'm going to gather medicinal herbs outside of the city. Come with me, gather medicinal herbs? Yun Qi was full of confusion. Yun family has all kinds of medicinal herbs. Why are you going outside of the city to gather them? Gathering medicinal herbs is not the main purpose. It is mainly to recognize different herbs. Linger said seriously. Master said to become a real doctor, knowing different flowers and medicinal herbs, poisonous plants and insects is the very basics. Master is resting now and cannot be disturbed. So big brother Yun Qi, you are of course the best suitable temporary master. Let's go. After finishing her sentence, Linger blinked playfully. She was the only person in this world aside from him that knew he was once Yun Gu's disciple. All right. Yun Qi bade farewell to Xianxian and left while linking arms with Linger. Seeing the two of them being so intimate with each other from afar, Xianxian continued smiling. Having arrived at the illusory demon realm only 10 days ago, he already felt that a life like this was perhaps more suited for him. He did not need to take on responsibility or be on guard. There was no more stress, heartbreaks, toleration, anger, sadness. From a long time ago, he felt that he was completely unsuited to being a sect master, and now he was even more sure of it. Looks like it is indeed time to find myself a partner. Xianxian smiled as he said to himself, at least it can make Linger worry less. There was a rather small forest terrain east of Demon Imperial City that was home to hundreds of flora. After entering, Linger started picking and identifying different types of plants near the edge of the terrain with a serious look on her face. Limestone flower, parasol leaves, cold silk buds, this is called sage grass. No, these are fish odor vine. Yun Qi immediately corrected her and said, it looks similar to sage grass, but there are some minor difference on their leaves. If you smell it closely, there is an obvious difference. Fish odor vines have a slight smell of fish. Linger picked it up carefully, smelled it, and exclaimed, it's true. Big brother Yun Qi, how are you able to recognize it right away even when you are this far away? even though Su Linger had recovered her memories from her previous life. For some reason, her personality and character were obviously leaning towards this life. She lost the unresolvable depression from her previous life and gained more of the innocence and naivety of a 16-year-old young girl. Yuan-Chi spoke with an elder-like attitude. Linger, you just started learning about medicine. It is pretty impressive for you to be able to identify so much. You don't have to rush at all. After all, I wandered with Master for 20 years in the Azure Cloud continent and dealt with different types of medicinal herbs every day. It would be hard to not get to know them well. Later on, as long as I was in contact with the medicinal herb, I didn't need to look at it. I knew immediately what it was just by slightly smelling it. Right after he finished speaking, Yuan-Chi paused there. He could use these words to impress other women, but Linger already knew all about it since a long time ago. He, Su Linger stuck her tongue out towards him. Yes, big brother Yuan-Chi, hurry and come teach me then. Under Su Linger's enthusiasm for learning, Yuan-Chi went into mentor mode. This red flower is called the dragon blood vine. It is useless for curing diseases, but it is a medicine that can help practice cultivation. This is a left spirit seed, cold attribute, can be consumed directly. This is a tower pond flower. It is a medicinal flower that can be crushed to apply externally, and it can cure some snake venom that are not too severe. I know this, it's jasmine. It was as if Yuan-Chi's soul had been ruthlessly stabbed by something as he was startled in place. Wow, so many jasmine. I can't believe they would grow in a place like this. It's as if someone meticulously planted them here. Ahead of them was a moist land with many snow-white jasmine flowers blooming all together. At first glance, there were as many as a couple hundred flowers. The flowers were small, but they were perfectly pure white. The fragrance was light, but it was so elegant that it could cleanse one's soul. The Su Linger from the previous life really liked jasmine flowers, and the Su Linger now was the same. She was almost hypnotized when admiring the jasmine sea. Even her vigorous curiosity was suppressed. She closed her eyes, took a deep whiff of the jasmine aroma, then turned around and said smilingly, "Big brother Yuan-Chi, do you think the jasmine here is?" She didn't notice anything unusual with her back turned earlier, but she now saw Yuan-Chi's dull expression and glazed eyes after having turned around. His face was clearly covered with an expression that seemed sorrowful. She panicked and immediately threw herself onto Yuan-Chi. "Big brother Yuan-Chi, what's wrong?" Su Linger's call brought him back to reality. He immediately forced a smile and said, "Nothing, I just suddenly thought of something." "You mean, thought of someone?" Su Linger looked up, feeling Yuan-Chi's chaotic heartbeat, and said softly, "The person related to the jasmine flower, is it a girl?" Yuan-Chi opened his arms and held Su Linger softly. He said guiltily, "Linger, you are right by my side. I know I shouldn't think about someone else, but I—" "Big brother Yuan-Chi." Su Linger shook her head instead and smiled softly. At this moment, she seemed to have lost the immaturity of a 16-year-old and became the Su Linger of the past who had always spoiled him with love. "That's okay. I like the way you are now. Do you remember what I said back then when I was in your arms?" Yuan-Chi. "Never let down the girl that is willing to do anything for you again, and never give up on the girl that you are willing to do anything for. If big brother Yuan-Chi's heart is incomplete because of some regret, then my heart will also be incomplete forever." Su Linger mumbled softly, as if she was sleep-talking. After experiencing 2 lifetimes, experiencing the true meaning of the parting of life and death, then regaining something after losing it, she was very clear on what she wanted, and was even more clear about what an incomplete soul felt like. "She was my master," Yuan-Chi said softly. "Su Linger. She left. When she left, everything that she said was relentless. She cut off our master-disciple relationship, said that we will never meet again, and told me never to attempt to look for her." Yuan-Chi closed his eyes. He spoke very calmly. He could reveal the voice suppressed deep down his soul as much as he wanted in front of Su Linger. "But I know the things she said weren't true. It must have been hard for her to leave me. Even though I don't know a lot of things about her, her character, thoughts, her concern for me, and the reliance she showed towards me sometimes. I know them better than anyone in this world, but the place she's going is too far away. I might really never see her again in my life. I made my decision a long time ago to separate from her, but I overestimated myself. I did not expect to be so uneasy with her not around. I seem to unwittingly see glimpses of her shadow in my heart every day. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's like I am under some strange spell." Su Linger tried to picture what that girl could possibly look like quietly in her mind and said gently, "I believe big brother Yuan-Chi's feelings." She must have her reason or difficulties to have said something like that. Even if you two really don't meet again, you still have us and me. At least I will never leave you. Even if one day you were to force me to leave, I would shamelessly stick by your side. Yuanqi didn't say another word. He only held Su Linger even tighter. The two of them lingered together before the jasmine flower field for a long, long time. Chapter 920. In broad daylight, Yangan, be careful, don't rush anything. Ah, be careful, be careful. Heh. Xiao Yangan moved his young and tender limbs as he nimbly crawled across the wooden couch, letting out delighted squeals of laughter from time to time. Xiao Lai watched him vigilantly from the side. His only fear was that Xiao Yangan would accidentally fall over, but other than that, a broad smile stretched across his face. Yangan is truly outstanding. He isn't even 2 months old yet, but he can already crawl around so quickly. Xiao Lingxi said with both hands resting on her chin, as she smiled merrily at Xiao Yangan. Every time Xiao Yangan's gaze shifted towards her, she could not help but pull an adorable, funny face at him. Perhaps in another 2 or 3 months, he will already have learned how to walk, Xiao Lai said with a laugh. After all, Xiao Yangan was no ordinary child. His mother was the princess of the elven race, so he had an extraordinary constitution and innate talent. Ah! At this moment, Xiao Lai seemed to have remembered something as a soft sigh escaped his lips. He mumbled to himself in a soft voice, I've barely noticed it, but quite a few months have passed since we left Floating Cloud City. Xiao Lingxi. Linger, Xiao Lai said as he gave Xiao Lingxi a deep look. You're not young anymore. It's about time for you to start thinking about marriage. Ah! She never expected Xiao Lai to suddenly give voice to such a thing, so Xiao Lingxi was caught completely off guard as she stood there in stunned silence. After that she replied in a frenetic and hurried fashion, I've never thought about such a thing. I've only ever thought about how to take care of you, father. Ho. Xiao Lai gave a chuckle. Ah, this child of mine, you've always been far too filial and you've never been able to stop caring about this old man. Those years where my body was not well were truly a burden to you. It has nearly been 8 years since Chair first got married. If I don't marry you off soon, I'm afraid your mother in heaven is going to blame me to death. There are quite a number of gentlemen who have their eyes on you in this demon imperial city. Furthermore, each and every one of them comes from unordinary backgrounds. Have any of them caught your eye? If they have, should father help you make this known? No, of course not. Xiao Lingxi hurriedly shook her head. Just as she was so bewildered and flustered that she was at a loss as to what to do, Yuanqi came along and greeted them. Grandfather, little aunt. The cavalry had arrived, and Xiao Lingxi immediately stood up and said, Little Qi, have you recovered from your wounds? I've already fully recovered, and I just took Linger on a tour around the city, Yuanqi said with a smile. After that, he extended a hand towards Xiao Yangan. Yangan, let uncle hug you. Wahahaha. Just as Yuanqi extended a hand, an incomparably boisterous and rough laugh rang out from the outside. Greatest Ambition under heaven swaggered in, his face ruddy and glowing, a small wooden horse in his hand. My obedient grandchild, your grandfather has come to see you. Look at the nice present your grandfather has brought for you today. Greatest Ambition under heaven's voice could be said to be earth-shaking. Once he heard it, Xiao Yangan stopped crawling, his lips curling up before he abruptly started bawling his eyes out. Number 7 under heaven heard the sound of crying and practically flew over. She scooped up Xiao Yangan in her arms and immediately started to soothe and coddle him. She also did not forget to give Greatest Ambition under heaven a good scolding. Father, this is already the 8th time. Would it kill you to shut up when you come by? Greatest Ambition under heaven stood there in a completely embarrassed state. He gave Xiao Lai a rueful laugh before speaking. Ah, old fellow, would you take a look at this memory of mine? Oh, my obedient grandchild, don't cry, don't cry. Your grandfather will definitely be quieter the next time around. Yuanqi laughed and shook his head as he witnessed this scene. After that, he walked up to Xiao Lingxi's side and said, Little aunt, let's go out first. I happen to have something I want to talk to you about. As the two people walked out of the courtyard, Yuanqi observed Xiao Lingxi's current state and asked suspiciously, Lingxi, something seems to be on your mind? Father, he is probably homesick, Xiao Lingxi said in a gloomy voice. Homesick, huh? Yuanqi said while nodding his head. Actually, I could tell as well. Grandfather has always had deep-rooted feelings for Floating Cloud City, and this time around he has left it for such a distant place, and for such a long period of time too. Yunqi had also brought him to Blue Wind Imperial City several years ago, and Xiao Lai had been directly taken care of by Kang Yue. Everything there had been 100 times better than that small floating cloud city. But in the end, he had not stayed for too long and insisted on returning to Floating Cloud City, even if that place held many unhappy memories for him. Now that he had been in the illusory demon realm for the past few months, even though he had tried his best to cover it up, Yunqi could still tell that his homesickness was growing heavier as the days passed. It was as if there was something that he was unable to part within Floating Cloud City. Actually, rather than saying father is sentimental over Floating Cloud City, it would be better to say that he is unable to forget my mother, Xianxia said in a soft voice. Your mother? Yunqi asked in a stunned voice. Xianxia had never seen her mother because her mother had passed away not long after Xianxia was born. He might have seen her before, but at that time he was only 1 year old, so he basically had no impressions of her, and she had not left even a blurred outline in his memories. Even though I've never seen my mother, I do know that the relationship between my parents was exceptionally good. All the things that my mother left behind have been carefully maintained by father. He takes them out to look at them nearly every day, and every time he goes to visit my mother's grave, he will definitely stand in front of her gravestone and talk to it for a very long time. Furthermore, even after all these years, he has never considered remarrying once. Yunqi was actually well aware of all of these things, and he had even understood in his heart that if not for the fact that Xiao Lai had to take care of the 1-year-old Yunqi and the newborn Xianxia, he might truly have accompanied her to the grave. When he had established his name under the heavens and Xianxia was living a completely safe and carefree life, an incomparably fierce desire to die had appeared in Xiao Lai's heart. The reason for this was because he no longer had anything to worry about, so he could finally go to the other world to accompany his deceased wife. If not for the fact that he forcefully engineered number 7 under Heaven's pregnancy, he would not be able to save a person who was determined to die, even if his medical skills were 10 times greater than they already were. The depth of love Xiao Lai had for his deceased wife could clearly be seen. The biggest reason father is so attached to Floating Cloud City is because that was where he and mother lived together, so it contains all the memories they shared together. But at the same time, he is also reluctant to part from Yongan, and both of Yongan's parents live here. Ah, what should we do? Xianxia said as she shook her head in a rather frustrated manner. Don't worry, this matter will be solved very soon. Yunqi, contrary to her expectations, had an expression of supreme confidence on his face. In another 12 days, the teleportation formation between the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm should be ready for use. Furthermore, the people over at the profound sky continent should also be helping to build a teleportation formation in Floating Cloud City itself. When that time comes, if grandfather wants to move between these two places, it'll be as easy as lifting his finger. Ah, Xianxia let out a surprised cry of joy. Is that really true? Of course it is. Yunqi said with a merry smile. No matter what anyone says, these are still the 5 strongest sects in the profound sky continent. If they can't even do something as simple and trivial as this, then they have simply been vainly and foolishly hoarding all the foundation and resources they have built up over all these years. That's great. The problem she was just being vexed by was solved in an instant, so Xianxia immediately grew bubbly and happy. After that, she suddenly thought of what Yunqi had said before. Oh right, little Qi, you said that you had something you wanted to speak to me about. What is it? Amen. Yunqi thought about it for a while and finally decided to just come out and say it directly. A few months ago, Xuanyuan Wentian used a special method to steal Fen Juchen's body. From that moment onwards, the both of them actually existed in one body. So that meant that when Xuanyuan Wentian died, Fen Juchen died as well. Xianxia's head drooped low as her expression turned rather solemn and sad. Actually, I already guessed that this was what had happened. I don't know why fate had to be so unfair to big brother Fen. Even though he looked really scary, he actually wasn't a bad person. On the contrary, there were many instances where he was far kinder than most people. When has fate ever been fair before? Yunqi asked in a disappointed and frustrated voice, but he immediately changed his tone before continuing. He was indeed not just a bad guy, but to say that he was kind, I think that the only person in the world who would feel this way is you. Ah, Xianxia's lips parted in surprise, but I really felt that Big Brother Fen was a very kind person. When we were complete strangers, he saved me once. After that, he not only rescued floating Cloud City, he protected it for a very long time. At first, he wanted to kill little Chi so badly, but in the end, he was still willing to set aside his vengeance. Finally, in the snow region of extreme ice, it was him who rescued us yet again. Yun Chi looked at her before sincerely speaking. Actually, all of this had nothing to do with whether he was kind or not. Rather, it was because he loved you. Ah! Xianxia's beautiful eyes grew big before a puff of tittering laughter abruptly escaped her lips. You actually laughed, Yun Chi said with a shrug of his shoulders. I knew that you wouldn't believe me. As if I'd believe what you just said, Xianxia said. How could it be possible that Big Brother Fen loved me? No, that's not right. With his icy-cold personality, Big Brother Fen basically wouldn't have fallen in love with any women at all. That's why I say this. You're clearly so big now, but you're still as pure as a child. The fragmentation of his soul caused by the forbidden reincarnation technique caused Fen Juchen's personality to be exceptionally aloof and extreme. He was extremely proud, and this was something that Yun Chi had witnessed in Blue Wind Profound Palace. If he hated anyone, it would naturally be an extreme hate. But if you reverse that, if he loved someone, his love would be extreme as well. Xianxia had striven to use her own methods to get rid of the hate Fen Juchen had held towards Yun Chi. She had succeeded, but she had not known that this had nothing to do with how brilliant or superior her methods were. She had succeeded because she was the only person in this world that could succeed in the first place. This included him not wantonly killing innocent people despite being possessed by the darkness profound energy, protecting floating Cloud City, and rescuing them in the snow region of extreme ice. All of these things had nothing to do with whether he was kind or not. Instead, it had everything to do with one person, Xianxia. Xianxia had never truly understood Fen Juchen, because the Fen Juchen in front of her and the Fen Juchen in front of everyone else were two completely different people. No matter how strong a man was, there would definitely be a woman who would be the greatest weakness in his life. Xianxia was Fen Juchen's weakness, but at the same time, it also allowed him, a person who had sacrificed his soul to the darkness, to obtain salvation at the end of his life. At the very least, he had not carried any hatred or hysteria in his soul as it faded away. On the contrary, his passing was exceptionally peaceful and tranquil. It was just that Xianxia was completely unaware of all of these things. A child? Xianxia's mouth pouted as she spoke in a discontented voice. Ah, you impudent person, I'm your little aunt, you know. In front of me, you're the one who is a child. It is only when we are in front of grandfather that you're my little aunt. But right now, you're only my Lynxie. Yun Chi suddenly turned around and hugged Xianxia. As she squealed in shock, he pressed her against the nearby wall, his body slowly sinking into her soft bosom. Ah, little Chi, what are you doing? Xianxia unconsciously shrank backwards as she asked in a voice filled with nervous energy. Yun Chi slowly brought his face closer to hers as his breath softly brushed against her cheeks. When I entered the room just now, I did hear grandfather talking to you about marriage, you know. It can't be that you're really going to marry someone else, right? That's right. Xianxia rolled her beautiful eyes before speaking with a sincere expression on her face. I'm already 23 years of age this year. If I don't get married soon, there is really no one who will want me anymore. You're not allowed to, Yun Chi said as his expression grew earnest. You're not allowed to get married to anyone. You're not allowed to like anyone else either. HMPH. Xianxia turned her face aside. I'm not allowed to marry anyone else, huh? Then are you going to marry me? You're going to marry me. 8 years ago, she had said the same thing when on the day of his and Xia Qingyu's marriage. It was just that the feelings expressed in those words had long ago undergone a subtle change. If you weren't my little aunt, I would definitely marry you, Yun Chi had said, faintly smiling as he looked her in the eye. It was also on that day that he and Xianxia had lain against each other watching stars, even though it was his and Xia Qingyu's wedding night. The Yun Chi at that time had not been able to restrain his emotions, so he had blurted out that exact same vow. These were words that Xianxia had never once forgotten. She stared at Yun Chi with blank eyes which quickly grew misty. And right now, you are no longer my little aunt but my Lynxie instead, Yun Chi said with a faint smile. Xianxia softly bit down on her lower lip as her body faintly trembled. Then do you dare tell father that you want to marry me? I don't dare. I knew that you wouldn't dare to do it, Xianxia said in a small voice. I indeed do not dare to do it right now, but soon, Yun Chi said as a small and mysterious smile flashed across his face. I will very soon be able to openly and boldly say such a thing in front of grandfather. Ah, Xianxia's beautiful eyes glittered. Very soon. Amen, very soon. However, Yuanqi's eyes turned dangerous at that moment. Right now I need to make you understand something else with absolute clarity. Ah, what is? That is to make sure that you remember that I am no child. Ah, just as Xianxia's startled cry escaped from her mouth, her fragrant lips had been forcefully kissed by Yuanqi. All of her cries immediately turned into weak whimpers. At first, she still unconsciously struggled, but immediately after that, her struggles grew weaker and weaker, until her entire body melted against Yuanqi's chest. She softly closed her beautiful eyes and allowed him to do what he wanted. Yuanqi lightly raised his hand, and with extreme skill and familiarity, he undid her belt sash and the jade buttons on her clothes. His hand snaked inside her robes, directly plunging past her inner robes. It climbed up that slender and willowy waist before grasping onto a soft, plump and tender mound of snow. "NN," a startled gasp escaped Xianxia's lips, her beautiful eyes widening nearly instantly. This place was still along the small paths that traversed the Yun family household, so the bright and beautiful light still shone on their bodies. She had never expected Yuanqi to be so bold in this place. She urgently escaped Yuanqi's questing lips, gasping for breath as her slender and delicate eyebrows lightly trembled with nervous energy. But she could not struggle free from the demonic hand that wantonly rampaged about inside her inner clothes. A pair of soft and snowy jade mounds that she was normally too bashful to touch were being wantonly played with and pinched in several different ways. "Right now, are you still going to say that I'm a little child?" Yuanqi whispered into her ear. Xianxia buried her small head in his chest, her tender face stained completely red. She did not dare look into Yuanqi's eyes, and a small whimper that resembled a small and harmless animal came from her lips. "Little Qi, you've become so bad, ah!" As she let out another startled cry, Yuanqi had lifted up her inner clothes, instantly exposing her breasts to the air. Even though they were not full and plump, they were as sleek and flawless as jade. It looked as if Xianxia was holding two lustrous white jade bowls in front of her chest. "Ah, don't!" Xianxia covered her chest with her hands in a fluster as she anxiously peered around. It will be seen by others." How could any people escape Yuanqi's spiritual perception? He grinned like a big bad wolf that was about to swallow up a small, innocent lamb. "Don't you worry about that. If anyone dares to look, I'll have no choice but to dig out his." Before he could finish speaking, he suddenly felt a gaze that came from behind him sweeping past his body. He instantly turned around like lightning, looking at the sky behind him. A small and delicate girl was silently hovering in the air behind him as she looked at him with an expressionless face, her long rainbow robes radiating a kaleidoscope of light as the rising sun glimmered off them. The little demon empress. "Ah!" Following the movement of Yuanqi turning around, Xianxia also caught sight of the little demon empress as she immediately let out a startled cry of alarm. In extreme panic, she yanked down her clothes, the deep red blush on her face spreading to her neck. She was so ashamed and mortified that she looked like she was about to cry. She had never been so embarrassed in her life before. She had been violated by Yuanqi in broad daylight, and someone had even caught them in the act. "Kei, you've come." Yuanqi turned around as he sought to plaster a big smile across his face. "Ha, the weather today is really good, isn't it?" Her inner clothes and outer clothes had both been pulled back into place, but Xianxia did not dare to relax, so both of her hands were still firmly affixed to the front of her robe. She did not dare look the little demon empress in the eye. She deeply bowed her head instead, but she did not forget to sneakily stretch out a hand to give Yuanqi's waist a vicious pinch. "You two definitely have something important to discuss. I'll be going ahead first." After she said this, she maintained her protective stance over her chest as she practically sprinted away from the scene of the crime. The little demon empress, "That, Xianxia, there is no need to explain." Just as Yuanqi opened his mouth, the little demon empress huffily cut him off before coldly saying, "It's not as if we're all idiots. Did you truly believe that we were unaware of this?" Yuanqi muttered, a slightly stupid expression on his face. "I came today to speak to you about two things." The little demon empress did not appear to be any different than usual, but Yuanqi could hear a faint hint of anger lingering in her voice. "The first thing is concerning the location of the teleportation formation. I have decided to set it in the outer courtyards of the Yun family household. I considered a lot of other locations, but this was the only location that was convenient and gave me peace of mind." Yuan-Chi thought about it for a while before nodding his head vigorously. Amen, that's right, that's right. Ah, my wife Kei is still the most clever after all. The second thing I've come to discuss, the little demon empress said as she turned her face aside. Your wounds are more or less recovered, so from tonight onwards you better move back into the demon imperial palace. Heh heh. Yuan-Chi chuckled as he flew over to the little demon empress' side. Kei, I knew that you've definitely been missing me again. I was also just about ready to tell father and mother that I would be moving back to the demon imperial palace. Oh, that's right. I want to bring Linger along as well. So from tonight onward, let her stay in the demon imperial palace as well, okay? The little demon empress' eyes flashed over him. You still haven't explained one thing to us. What exactly is the situation with Linger? This, Yuan-Chi stammered at a loss of what to say. It is not that I don't want to explain it to you, it's just that it is really hard to explain. After this, when I find a suitable time, I will explain it to all of you. Right now, it is more important for Linger to cure you of the ailment that's sapping away your very life. So the reason she is going to stay at the Demon Imperial Palace is for this very same reason. The little demon empress brows twitched. It was clear that she was wondering what treating her illness had to do with allowing Linger to stay in the Demon Imperial Palace. But she did not pursue the matter any further. That's right, Kei. I was just about to go to Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley. Do you want to come along with me? Yuan-Chi asked in a seemingly serious fashion, but both of his hands suddenly circled around her chest as he gave her silky breasts a tight squeeze. NNNN. The little demon empress uttered a sound that she would only let out in front of Yuan-Chi. She hurriedly sought to escape his grasp as she anxiously swept the surround area with her eyes. After that, she let out a light snort of displeasure which sounded angry, but was in reality excessively lovable and gentle before flying far away. Her only fear was that Yuan-Chi's bestial tendencies had fully erupted, and that she would soon follow Xianxia's footsteps. The soft and warm feeling lingered on his palms for a long time before fading away. Yuan-Chi looked at his hands as he softly muttered to himself, "The heavenly jade truly lives up to its name. The results are getting more and more obvious. Amen. Should I also concoct up a batch for Xianxia as well?" Chapter 921, Mysteries of the Evil God. 1. Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley. Yuan-Chi had already been permitted to enter as he pleased by the Golden Crow's soul. None of the Demon Emperor's family have ever had this privilege in their 10,000 years of history, including the little Demon Empress. Upon entering Golden Crow Lightning Flame Valley, Yuan-Chi clearly felt that the energy of the flames in this independent world had weakened yet again. Most of the volcanoes within sight were silent. Even a lot of the lava had stopped flowing and condensed into glowing red lava stone. Yuan-Chi was well aware of the reason behind this. Throughout his life, he met many important individuals who had changed his fate. The Golden Crow's soul was one of them. When they first met, it gave Yuan-Chi a dignified, arrogant, and unreasonable first impression. But later on, the help that it bestowed upon him was always unreserved. "You're here." When he reached the end of the realm, before Yuan-Chi had yet to summon it, the golden eyes of the Golden Crow's soul had already opened in the blue sky. The light that spilled down from its golden eyes blazed with sharp might. "The devil aura in the north has completely vanished, but you were able to come back alive. It seems like a miracle has occurred." "Yes," Yuan-Chi nodded. "It can indeed be called a miracle. Before going to the Azure Cloud continent, I was already prepared to die. But contrary to my expectations, I accidentally received a power that allowed me to defeat Xuanyuan Wentian there. The darkness energy clearly reached the human realm's divine way not long ago. It was a power that never existed on this plane before. When this noble one noticed it, I originally thought that this world would be shrouded in the darkness that he created. Even if you from 1 month ago gave up your life and forcefully used Hades, you still wouldn't have been able to kill him if he had a power on that level. I didn't expect for your profound strength to encounter such a massive transformation in one short much. This noble one really wants to know what kind of divine miracle you encountered in Azure Cloud continent." The strange girl with colorful eyes bathing in the boundless netherworld Udambara flower sea flashed across Yuan-Chi's mind. "To be honest, based on overall strength, I still cannot compare to Xuanyuan Wentian. Only my physique is stronger than his. The biggest reason that I could win was..." While he was speaking, Yuan-Chi slowly stretched out his hand. A ball of black light as thick as a twisted dimensional black hole quickly condensed in the center of his palm. The golden eyes in the sky suddenly contracted, and the light in the entire world started fluctuating violently. This kind of change continued for a few breaths before it slowly subsided. However, the Golden Crow's soul suddenly quieted instead of continuing to ask more questions. Yuan-Chi lowered, and the darkness profound light instantly disappeared without a trace. He continued speaking. Somewhere in the Azure Cloud continent, I unexpectedly received another evil god seed. My master had once told me before that there were a total of 5 evil god seeds. Water, fire, wind, lightning, and earth, of the 5 basic elements. However, the one that I received in the Azure Cloud continent had a darkness attribute, and the power it contained was surprisingly much stronger than the 3 that I had received before. Not only was I able to completely control the power of darkness, even my profound energy rose to an extreme. Golden Crow's soul. And because of this evil god darkness seed, Xuanyuan Wentian's main profound art, illusory devil tome of eternal night, had no effect on me at all. He could only forcefully fight me with using profound energy and his sword. With the advantage of my body and with hunger restraining him, we were finally able to eliminate him. But I still don't get it. Why would evil God have a seed with the darkness element? Even though I don't have too much understanding of the primordial era, I at least know that dark, profound energy was a power that was repelled by the god race to the extent of almost hatred. It shouldn't even appear on a god. In all the records and legends about the evil god, there was no mention of him possessing darkness, profound energy. The Golden Crow's soul remained silent as Yuan-Chi sensed shock from the air which had become frenzied. Yuan-Chi continued to speak. When I asked why the Moon Slaughter Devil Sovereign's devil origin orb would be compatible with my profound veins, you said that you didn't know either. But after that, there was an instant when you began to speak but hesitated. Was it about the evil god having darkness profound energy? Do you know something about it? Possessing the evil god's profound veins, yet suddenly obtaining the so-called, forbidden, darkness profound energy made Yuan-Chi thirst for answers. No, the matter of evil god having darkness profound energy, forget about this noble one. Not even the Golden Crow divine god knew about it. There were also no such rumors during the era of gods, because being able to control darkness profound energy was an ability that belonged to devils. It would be impossible for a god to acquire darkness profound energy even if one wanted to. This noble one hesitated to speak back then, because the only possible way this noble one could think of to merge a dark origin orb into profound veins was that an extremely strong darkness origin already existed in the profound veins. I did not expect that. The voice of the Golden Crow's soul stopped, as if it still couldn't completely accept this fact. This would mean that when the evil god was alive, he had been concealing that fact that he had darkness profound energy all along. That's not surprising, considering how much gods hated devils. If they found out that the evil god possessed a strong darkness profound energy, he would have been rejected strongly, Yuan-Chi said. He had already made this guess when he first received the darkness seed under Cloud's End Cliff. The Golden Crow's soul remained silent. Isn't that so? The reaction of Golden Crow's soul slightly stunned Yuan-Chi. It should be so, Golden Crow's soul answered faintly. Even though it had been trying its best to cover it up, it still seemed a bit unnatural. The evil god did great favors for the Golden Crow, the Phoenix, and the Dragon God, and could count us as his few friends. But even they didn't know that evil god possessed darkness profound energy. I'm afraid no one in the entire primordial era knew about it. To be able to hide his own power so perfectly in the entire world, only the evil god could do it, and it was hidden for a full 5 billion years. 5 billion years! The amount of time that Yuan-Chi heard made him lift his head in surprise. He almost couldn't believe his own ears. From the end of Era of Gods until today, millions of years had passed. To you humans, millions of years is an extremely long time. But to those from the Era of Gods, it was only a flash of time, said Golden Crow's soul. Did you just say that the evil god lived for at least 5 billion years? Yuan-Chi exclaimed. The time of his 2 lives adding together was only about 50 years, and it had already made his life a lot more fulfilling and exciting than the lives of ordinary folk. He couldn't understand 5 billion years of time, 5 billion years of life. What kind of concept would that be? He was born in beginning of the primal chaos. His life was as long as the era of gods. He witnessed the birth of the era of gods, its reproduction and prosperousness, and he also witnessed the destruction of the era of gods. Even though he had an eccentric personality, the things he did were always honorable. There is no question that he was not only the strongest god, he was also an extremely great god. While this noble one is shocked that he possessed the power of a devil, I do not understand why he would keep this secret hidden forever. The voice of Golden Crow's soul suddenly became serious at this moment. Since this was a secret that he had hidden for 5 billion years, then, let it continue to be a secret hidden forever. I understand. Aside from you, I didn't tell this to anyone else. Even the fact that I have darkness profound energy, only Xuanyuan Wentian who died knew of it. Yunqi asked sincerely, Golden Crow's soul, could you tell me more about the evil god? Golden Crow's soul was once again silent for a long time before it slowly answered. This noble one sees a strong will of curiosity in your eyes. It seems that accidentally receiving the darkness seed has made your curiosity towards the evil god even stronger. Yunqi nodded. After all, I inherited his profound veins and power at the moment. I'm a bit confused about how to treat the dark, profound energy that I have. The evil god is dead, and so are the gods. This noble one shouldn't tell the mysteries of the gods to the ordinary people in the later generations. But you are different. You inherited the power of the evil god and found the secret that no one knew about during the era of gods, as if the heavens arranged it. Even though you have no intentions of saving the world, by slaughtering Moon's slaughter devil sovereign and eliminating Xuanyuan Wentian, you saved 2 continents from danger. Because of this, this noble one can say some things about evil god that this noble one knows about to you. But you shouldn't look forward to it too much. The evil god almost does not interact with others. Even the Golden Crow true god knew very little about the evil god. This noble one is only a soul fragment, so I know even less. Yunqi nodded and said gratefully, Thank you for your trust and generosity. I once heard from my master that the evil god was a true god that belonged to a very high plane in the era of gods, and it seemed to be a rather special existence. Among the gods, what position was he at? No, he wasn't a true god who belonged to a very high plane, the Golden Crow's soul corrected him. He was the god of the highest plane. High EST? Yunqi was deeply stunned. Very high and highest were 2 completely different concepts. 5 billion years ago, the primal chaos was divided into 2 extremes of yin and yang, and in the center of it all, the first being of this world was born. That being was named the ancestral god by the divine gods later on. Ancestral god? This was the first time Yunqi had heard this name. It was possible that even Jasmine doesn't know this name. The ancestral god was the first existence that was birthed in the primal chaos. Even the heaven-punishing ancestral sword, that could gather the power of Yang, and the evil embryo myriad tribulation wheel, that could gather the power of Yin, were both born after the ancestral god. As the first being birthed by the primal chaos, she carried the primal chaos' most original, purest, and strongest power. She was the absolute supreme existence. Her power connects the entire primal chaos. The power of primal chaos was her strength. As long as the primal chaos existed, she would never be destroyed. Rather than saying she was given birth by the primal chaos, it could be said that she was actually the consciousness of the primal chaos, like a sword spirit bred by a sword. Yunqi gaped. He listened with a stunned look, as if he was listening to an extremely unreal ancient myth. The Golden Crow's soul continued. As time passed, her consciousness became more mature, and she became a complete life form with very high intelligence. She created language, created the way that power works and is stored, in which all the creatures in the later generations could cultivate profound energy. She created profound arts that could maximize power, however. As the only existence of primal chaos, what accompanied her was everlasting loneliness. All the life energy in the primal chaos was connected and concentrated on her body. If she existed, no other beings could be born from the primal chaos. And so, after existing for a short 10 million years, she finally made a choice to dissipate, spreading life to every corner of the primal chaos, allowing the primal chaos to birth millions of creatures, and the era of gods began from there. Yunqi couldn't help but ask, if she vanished just like that, the people now shouldn't be able to know that the ancestral god ever existed. Did she leave something behind before vanishing? Indeed, the Golden Crow's soul continued to speak. Before the ancestral god vanished, she placed part of her memories in 8 pieces of life shards. In the end, these 8 pieces of life shards were scattered into the primal chaos dimension along with her disappearance. 4 pieces fell into the northern primal chaos and birthed the 4 great devil emperors who led the devil race later on. 4 pieces fell into southern primal chaos, birthing the three creation gods who led the god race and the evil god. Chapter 922, Mysteries of the Evil God, 2. The evil god and the creation gods were the very first divine beings. So this means that the evil god was a god who stood at the same level as the creation gods. Xianxia asked in astonishment. That's right. The four great devil emperors were the first and most powerful of all the devils. Correspondingly, the three great creation gods and the evil god were the first gods and also the most powerful gods, the Golden Crow soul replied. The three great creation gods all had different divine powers. The leader of the three, the heaven-punishing divine emperor Mo-E, not only had the strongest divine power, he was also able to control the heaven-punishing ancestral sword, so he was the strongest existence among the gods. However, it is possible that his lifespan was shortened because the overbearing power of the heaven-punishing ancestral sword sapped away at his very life. He became the first of the three great creation gods to fall. His divine essence dissipated entirely before the vicious war between the devils and gods had completely erupted, but at that time, it could be said that his lifespan had come to its complete end. The other two creation gods were called Xianxia and Xianxia. With the eternal sky pearl in hand, Xianxia possessed a supreme divine power which could interfere with time itself. Meanwhile, Xianxia held the primordial seal of life and death in her hands. She had an infinite lifespan, and her divine power was controlling the very powers of life itself. She was also the one who created the most planets and life forms. As for the evil god, he possessed the ultimate form of all elemental powers. He was able to handle and harness elemental powers in a way that practically ignored the very principles and laws of primal chaos. After that, he created the evil god arts, which shocked and awed all of the gods, causing his divine power to become even stronger. After that, there was a rumor in the realm of the gods that if the evil god went all out, he might even be able to beat the heaven-punishing divine emperor if the latter did not use the heaven-punishing ancestral sword. Xianxia's mouth gaped open even more, an exclamation ceaselessly ringing in his mind. Damn, the evil god was actually such an overpowered existence. As he was listening attentively, Xianxia practically blurted out a question. Since the three great creation gods were the first gods, then why wasn't the evil god also given the title of creation god? The evil god was also considered one of the creation gods initially. During the earliest period of the era of gods, there were considered to be four great creation gods, and the evil god numbered among them. During the time the evil god was considered a creation god, he used his divine powers to create many life forms and planets. The blue pole star that you are on right now is the very first planet he ever created. Then why? This matter touches upon a very complicated mystery pertaining the primordial era. The tone of the Golden Crow soul's voice turned rather complex. It lapsed into a brief silence, as if it was hesitating on whether or not to relay this information to Xianxia. This noble one just said that there was a rumor circulating in the realm of the gods that the evil god might be able to defeat the heaven-punishing divine emperor. Naturally, there was a reason behind the birth of this rumor. Because the heaven-punishing divine emperor and the evil god had indeed exchanged blows once. After that, the evil god changed his own divine title to evil god and no longer counted himself among the creation gods. From then onwards, the four great creation gods were reduced to the three great creation gods. At the same time, the four great devil emperors of the devil race were also reduced to the three great devil emperors. Xianxia had a completely stunned look on his face when he heard those words. What did this have to do with that? Why did the evil god get into a fight with the heaven-punishing divine emperor? What did the evil god refusing the title of creation god have to do with the change in the number of devil emperors the devil race had? This matter involved a divine art that originated from the ancestral god. The Golden Crow soul's tone changed as the speed at which it was talking seemed to slow down of its own accord. Even when it had brought up the heaven-punishing divine emperor, the head of all the gods, its tone had remained calm and even from start to finish. But the moment it mentioned this divine art, its tone became as reverential as that of a common man revering his gods. The ancestral gods, divine art, Xianxia mumbled in stunned amazement. It is rumored that it is the all-powerful profound art created by the ancestral god over millions of years. It is so powerful that normal creatures will not be able to comprehend. Before the ancestral god dissipated, She could not bear to see the fruit of millions of years of blood and sweat vanish into the ether along with her. But she was also afraid that this profound art was far too powerful, and it could give rise to a power that could disrupt the balance in the primal chaos. So she split her divine art into 3 parts, sending it into different corners of the primal chaos. This scattered divine art did not live on in the form of a soul imprint. Instead, it existed in writing, a most direct and simple form. But the words that this divine art was written in were created by the ancestral God herself, a set of words that have been called the divine text of absolute beginning. The only ones who could recognize these words in the universe were the 4 great creation gods and the 4 devil emperors who had all inherited the ancestral god's memory fragments. Also, they were naturally also the first beings to know about the existence of the ancestral god's art as well. Yuan-Chi, do you know why the god race and the devil race bear such great enmity and revulsion towards each other? The Golden Crow soul suddenly asked. Yuan-Chi pondered that question for a while before replying. I heard Master say before that the terrible war which caused the destruction of both the gods and devils started, because they were fighting over possession of the heaven-punishing ancestral sword. Could it be that the first sparks of conflict were actually due to this ancestral god's art that you just mentioned? The Golden Crow's soul replied. The god and devil races were birthed at the same time, existing together in the south and north ends of the primal chaos dimension. Even though their powers were different as night and day, they minded their own business. Even though they did not like each other, they rarely came into contact and also rarely came into conflict with the other. At the very least, they definitely did not look at each other as enemies. That status quo lasted until the devil race and the god race each found a portion of the ancestral god's art. Now that you mention it, what was this ancestral god's art called? Yuan-Chi asked as his curiosity got the better of him. This noble one does not know, and perhaps even the Golden Crow divine god itself does not know the answer to that question either. The Golden Crow soul said in an unhurried fashion. What I do know is that this ancestral god's art was undoubtedly extremely enticing to even the devil emperors and the creation gods. In order to better research the ancestral god's art, the devil emperor who had obtained one part made a suggestion to the creation god who had obtained another part. The devil emperor suggested that they combine both parts that they presently had so they could delve the mysteries of the ancestral god's art together. Even though it was not complete, if 2 of 3 pieces that comprised the ancestral god's art were combined, perhaps it would be enough to start deciphering some small clues regarding it. The creation god happily agreed to this proposition. Furthermore, the creation god who had obtained a piece of the ancestral god's art was the heaven-punishing divine emperor. After they had agreed upon this, that devil emperor sallied forth to the southern part of the primal chaos dimension to look for the heaven-punishing divine emperor so they could research this divine art together. They had agreed to meet at one of the borders of the primal chaos dimension, which would not be disturbed by any other living creature. But in the end, they were still crossing the primal chaos dimension into the territories where the god race lived, so that devil emperor did not come alone. He did not only bring that divine art along with him, he also brought 900 devil gods from his own clan to protect him, but who would have guessed that they would fall into the heaven-punishing divine emperor's trap? Yuan-Chi was shocked by these words. Could it be that the heaven-punishing divine emperor did this to snatch away the portion of the divine art that was in the possession of that devil emperor? That's right, Yuan-Chi. When that devil emperor produced his piece of the divine art, the heaven-punishing divine emperor did not take out his own piece of the divine art. Instead, he summoned out the heaven-punishing ancestral sword. While the vicious battle raged on, he used the heaven-punishing ancestral sword to blast open the wall of primal chaos, banishing that devil emperor and all the devil gods that he brought with him to a place that was outside the primal chaos dimension. Yuan-Chi was completely dumbstruck by those words. He said the heaven-punishing divine emperor was the emperor of all the gods, but to think he was actually such a despicable person. No, the Golden Crow soul rebutted Yuan-Chi. The heaven-punishing divine emperor definitely was not a despicable man. On the contrary, he was a person who abhorred evil far too much. From the moment he was born, the devils, who used negative, profound energy, were wicked and sinful existences to him. So he definitely would not allow the divine art that had come from the ancestral god to fall into the hands of the devils. Yuan-Chi could not muster up any words to respond to the Golden Crow soul. Even if his heart truly hated evil excessively, his actions were indeed extremely despicable. This action had been completely and irrefutably an act of breaking faith while hiding a knife. What is the wall of primal chaos? And what does it mean to be banished outside the primal chaos dimension? Could it be that the primal chaos dimension actually has a border? Even though the primal chaos dimension is huge in the end, it still has a limit. Furthermore, breaking apart the wall of primal chaos is something that is incomparably hard to do. Even the power of a true god would probably not suffice. It is rumored that an eternal and unending void exists outside the primal chaos dimension. Once someone falls outside the primal chaos, they will be banished to a world of eternal emptiness, and they will never be able to return again. This matter provoked the wrath of all the devils. It also caused the evil god to go into an absolute rage when he found out about what had happened. Because of this, the evil god and the heaven-punishing divine emperor fought a vicious duel, and no one knows the result of that battle. But from that battle onwards, the evil god announced that he was no longer one of the creation gods, and he took the name Evil God after that. Similarly, from that moment forward, the relationship between the gods and devils, who had rarely interacted or interfered with one another, turned completely hostile. They regarded each other as mortal enemies, as the gods also grew to completely reject the darkness profound energy used by the devils. Moreover, from that time forth, the evil god's personality underwent a great change. He became solitary and antisocial, no longer bothering with the affairs that took place in the world of the gods. He paid no attention to the struggle between God and devil, and in the end, very few divine beings even witnessed his coming and going. So did the piece of the divine art that belonged to the devil emperor fall into the hands of the heaven-punishing divine emperor? Xianxia asked. No, to Xianxi's surprise, the golden crow's soul denied this. It seems that he did not. In the end, the heaven-punishing divine emperor only had one piece of the divine art. The piece held by the devil emperor was rumored to be lost with him forever, when he and his followers were expelled outside the primal chaos dimension. Another rumor was that it landed in the hands of the evil god. The rumors that the evil god obtained victory over the heaven-punishing divine emperor were derived from here. Moreover, the mysterious, ancestral god's art, which came from the ancestral god, was never able to be completed, not even when both the gods and devils fell. Following the end of the era of gods and devils, it completely disappeared in the primal chaos. This was the will of heaven. Even true gods were not worthy of catching even a glimpse of the secrets that lay within something that belonged to the ancestral god. But in the end, it helplessly became the true root of hostility that existed between both races, and it was also the reason one of the creation gods turned into the evil god. This noble one only knows these things about the evil god's past. As for his ability to control darkness' profound energy, this should have been a secret that remained buried in the past forever, and perhaps only the deceased evil god himself knew about this. Xianxia placed a hand on his jaw. He felt as if he was floating on clouds. After all, the information he had received from the Golden Crow's soul today had no connection to the experiences he had gone through, and the world he lived in, so it sounded, as if he was listening to an abstract and faraway myth. But at the very least, it had let him know what status the evil god possessed back in the era of gods. But as for the answer to the question he most wanted answered, the question of why the evil god could control darkness' profound energy, he still did not have a clear answer. As for the other information regarding the ancestral god's divine art and the wall of primal chaos, all of these could truly be regarded as pure myth. Since the evil god had always completely hidden the fact that he had darkness' profound energy during his era, it looks like I also need to do the same, and let this darkness profound energy of mine be a secret that only I am privy to, Xianxia said slowly. The most probable reason behind the evil god hiding his darkness profound energy was that he did not want to be treated as a devil. Xianxia did not want to be treated like a devil either. The Golden Crow Soul did not reply. Golden Crow Soul, besides the matter regarding the evil god, I have one other thing I want to ask, Xianxia said as he raised his head. Do you know how to get to the realm of the gods? Once your profound strength has stepped into the way of the divine, you will naturally be able to sense the existence of a higher plane. Once your divine power stabilizes, and you possess the ability to exist for a long time within the primal chaos, you will be able to leave this blue pole star, and you will one day discover the location of the realm of the gods. After the Golden Crow soul finished speaking, it suddenly asked Xianxia a question. Why do you desire to go to the realm of the gods? Could it be that you are pursuing an even higher level of power? Xianxia shook his head before exhaling a small breath of air. I also don't know whether I should go or not right now. HMPH, so that is how it is. Xianxia's words caused understanding to immediately dawn in the mind of the Golden Crow soul. When your master left, she must have definitely told you something along the lines of forbidding you from ever going to the realm of the gods to look for her. But you, on the other hand, desperately want to see her again. Xianxia gave a faint nod of his head before deciding to nod his head vigorously instead. Ha 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 ha! The Golden Crow soul let out a great laugh. If this noble one was the Phoenix soul, I would definitely attempt to sternly dissuade you in order to prevent you from entering the realm of the gods. However, this noble one simply has to inform you of one thing. Xianxia's head jerked up in astoundment. If you ever want to see your master again, you need to be able to reach the realm of the gods within the next 5 years. If not, you can forget about seeing her in this life ever again. Chapter 923, Slaughtering the Donkey Once Its Work is Done. What do you mean? Why won't I be able to see her again? Xianxia asked suspiciously as his head jerked up. Could it be that you know something? HMPH, that is because... The Golden Crow soul's voice suddenly stopped, the slight tremble in its bright golden eyes clearly revealing its hesitation in that instant. Because once it thought about Xianxia's temperament and how he had always chosen to deal with things, it decided to conceal that information instead and continued in a bland voice. As a star god, she naturally has a unique duty that she has to follow. Within 5 years, no, it might even be less than 5 years actually, she will have to fulfill the destiny that she is burdened with, and once that time comes, even if she wanted to see you, the destiny that she has to bear will not allow her to. Duty? Destiny? Xianxia muttered in a rather dispirited manner. What kind of duty is this? Why would it cause her to lose her freedom? This noble one is not privy to that information. But if you do not see her within the next 5 years, this noble one is absolutely positive that you will not be able to see her ever again. There are many things that are happening in the realm of the gods that you mortals will never be able to understand. The Golden Crow soul's voice was still calm and bland, but it was extremely clear that this so-called duty would not simply cause her to lose her freedom. But once it thought of Xianxia's temperament, it realized that it could only tell Xianxia this much. Xianxia stood there with a dazed look on his face. Xia Qingyu's and Xia Yuanba's mother suddenly sprang to mind. He recalled the tale that Xia Hongyi had recounted to him that day, about a girl that Xia Hongyi had called Dongsu. From Xia Hongyu's tale, Xianxia knew that the day that Xia Qingyu and Xia Yuanba's mother suddenly regained her memory, she did not linger even a day further. With a steely and incredible resolve, she abandoned her husband and 2 children, and even left a message to her family telling them that they would never meet again. After that event, they really did not see her ever again. Why exactly was that the case? Just what kind of place was the realm of the gods? Why were the people who returned to that realm unable to meet the people that lived in this place ever again? Jasmine was such a powerful individual, so why did she allow so many other factors to restrict her freedom? And what exactly was binding her in the first place? Just what kind of place was the world she was living in? Is there any way to forcibly travel to the realm of the gods? Xianxia asked with gritted teeth as his head suddenly jerked upwards. Forcibly travel there? The Golden Crow soul gave a dull snort. It looks like this noble one's words have indeed stirred up much emotion in your heart. If you want me to acknowledge that I will never be able to see her again, I am unable to accept that. No matter what, I will never be able to accept that. Xianxia's heart faintly lurched as he said those words. I want to know whether the world she is living in is good or not. I want to know why she has been deprived of her freedom. No, that's not all. I definitely need to see her. Your power may be completely unrivaled in this world, but if you reached the realm of the gods, it would not even amount to a speck in the ocean. This is especially true when it comes to the star god realm that your master resides in. It exists in the very highest echelons of power, even within the realm of the gods. So even if you are truly able to travel to the realm of the gods, you will not be able to reach the star god realm where she resides. And even if you are truly able to find her, given your strength, what will you even be able to do for her? The Golden Crow soul asked in a cold and indifferent voice. Perhaps the strength that I possess is indeed only incomparably small and puny when I reach that world. But, Xianxia said as he closed his eyes, I want to see her, and it's not because of what you have just said. I've been wanting to see her ever since she left. Her departure was simply too sudden, and even now I've not been able to accept it all. Furthermore, I want to know exactly how her life is back at her homeworld. Even if she still wants me to leave when I manage to meet her, and we are never fated to meet again, I can at least part from her forever with no regrets. Ha 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 ha! The golden crow soul let out a loud laugh. These are indeed the words you should have been saying. This noble one read your memories a while ago, so I understand her position in your heart far better than even you do. Even if this noble one does not attempt to agitate you, you will definitely not be able to control your urge to travel to the realm of the gods to find her. But it is such a pity that the realm of the gods exists in a dimension that is extremely far away from this world. Even if you exhausted all of the power that remained in the primordial profound arc, you would still not be able to reach that place. There also aren't any shortcuts or methods you can use to reach that place. At the very least, even if there are, this noble is unaware of them. If you want to see her within the next 5 years, the only way it is going to happen is if you raise your profound strength to the divine profound realm. At that time, you will naturally be able to advance towards the realm of the gods. It's just that this is a world with an exceptionally muddled aura, where the principles and laws of nature are extremely low-grade, and the elements are excessively thin. Attempting to step into the divine profound realm using conventional means is far harder than trying to traverse the heavens. But if it is you, perhaps you will be able to do it. If there is only one method available to me, Xianxia's emotions and aura had gradually calmed down. With the remaining time left to me, I will devote myself to cultivation. Even if, Xianxia's voice suddenly grew softer, even if it is simply so that I can gaze at her from a distance just once. Right now, his profound strength was at the first level of the sovereign profound realm. But the divine profound realm was a realm which required him to break through the 10th level of the sovereign profound realm. There was no way to know whether he could accomplish such a task within the short span of 5 years. However, if he was truly unable to do it, with another 2 or 3 years, Feng Zuer would definitely be able to do it. Perhaps when the time came, he would ask her to bring him to the realm of the gods. Jasmine, no matter what, I want to see you again. I can't allow her parting to be so unsatisfactory and incomplete. And what I truly want to know is whether you are living a good life back in that homeworld of yours. Time flowed by like a swift-moving river. Hardly anyone had noticed that a full month had passed since the day that Xuanyuan Wentian had been reduced to drifting ashes. As the 4 sacred grounds desperately toiled day and night without rest, the high-grade teleportation formation which linked the profound sky continent and the illusory demon realm was finally completed within Xianxia's specified deadline. The location of the formation within the illusory demon realm was set within the Yun family outer courtyards, which was also the place where the fairies of frozen cloud Asgard were staying for now. The location of the formation within the profound sky continent was set within the Blue Wind Nation's snow region of extreme ice, frozen cloud Asgard's originally location. In order to appease and curry favor with Xianxia, the 4 sacred grounds, especially Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region, had poured in a large amount of purple vein divine crystal and profound space divine stones into making this teleportation formation. Not only could this teleportation formation instantly allow a person to jump between the 2 continents, it also had enough power to function for 10 years. After its power was depleted in 10 years, one could simply use various profound crystals to power it up again. Compared to the dimensional teleportation formation they constructed together to invade the illusory demon realm, this dimensional teleportation was more than 10 times stronger. After all, at that time, the only fear each of the 4 sacred grounds had was that they would end up contributing more divine crystals than the other 3, allowing them to gain an advantage. On the day that the teleportation formation was completed, the first people to use this gigantic teleportation formation were also the 4 sacred grounds. They followed the order that Xianxia had given them that day, and everyone within the 4 sacred grounds, who was at least an elder, had used the teleportation formation to arrive at Demon Imperial City. For many of them, it was not the first time they had visited Demon Imperial City. However, the last time they came, they had arrived as rapacious fiends. But this time, all of them felt like they were teetering on the edge of a cliff. Their necks felt uncomfortably tight, and they behaved in an extremely cautious and circumspect manner. Because this time they had come here to apologize and pay for their sins as per Xianxia's orders. Furthermore, Xianxia had clearly said that if the little demon empress wanted to kill them, no matter who she killed or how many she killed, no one would be allowed to object. Once they had arrived in Demon Imperial City, they were received by the little demon empress. The little demon empress was incredibly calm, and she radiated no killing intent. In fact, she did not even speak. Instead, she silently and solemnly led them to the imperial tomb of the demon emperor's clan. Kneel! Once they had arrived at the imperial tombs of the previous demon emperor and the little demon emperor, the little demon empress finally spoke her first words to the four sacred grounds. Without much hesitation, all of the members belonging to the four sacred grounds fell to their knees. Since they had arrived at this place, they all knew what they had to do. They had invaded the illusory demon realm all those years ago, and even though they had been used by Duke Ming and Xuanyuan Wentian, and were definitely not the main instigators of this event, they were all still villains who had created the chaos and calamity that had struck the illusory demon realm. So it would be right and proper even if they paid for their crimes with their lives, much less simply kneeling down and begging for forgiveness. All of the strong individuals who existed in the upper echelons of the four sacred grounds knelt in front of the demon emperor's imperial tomb. This was a scene that the little demon empress, who had been isolated and alone all those years ago, had never even dreamed of. Similarly, no one in Demon Imperial City had ever dreamed of such a thing either. Duke Huai Palace had been destroyed, and besides Duke Ming, every single member of that clan had been exterminated. Furthermore, Duke Ming, the sole survivor of the little demon empress wrath, was undergoing purgatorial torture every single day, and he was not able to die even if he wished it. Demon Imperial City was at peace, and the illusory demon realm had become tranquil. She had even taken back the absolute imperial authority that the emperor of the illusory demon realm ought to have in the first place. The other main culprit behind this calamity, Xuanyuan Wentian, had already been turned into ashes, and the four sacred grounds who had sacked and pillaged Demon Imperial City were all kneeling and bowing their heads in front of her clan's imperial tombs. At this moment, she had already completely consoled the spirits of her royal father, her royal brother, and all of the other people who had sacrificed their lives for Demon Imperial City. Her eyes darted to the side as she snuck a look at the man who stood by her side. All of these things had happened because of him. If not for him, today's events would never have happened, and even the current her would not be around either. At first, she had only planned to sneak a peek at him, but once her eyes settled over his figure, her gaze lingered for a very long time. Her heart could sense with increasing clarity that from some point onward, his position in her heart had actually exceeded that of the illusory demon imperial family. In the past, the dignity and the glory of the illusory demon imperial family was far more important to her than her own life. But at this moment, the desire to put down the heavy burden of the illusory demon imperial family and hand all of herself into his care intensely pounded in her heart. All of them had sunk to their knees and kowtowed 9 times. They were all, at the very least, grand and stately elders of the four sacred grounds, so perhaps they had never dreamed that such a day would come where all of them would be grouped together like a flock of trembling little lambs awaiting judgment. Xianxia waited for all of them to finish up what they were doing before shooting an inquisitive look at the little demon empress. After that he turned around and said, "Yuanba, Mr. Zai, take your people and depart from this place." Once they heard those words, the members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace looked at each other in joy, while the members of Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword Region all froze in place. The Mighty Heavenly Sword Region's Xuanyuan Bo asked in a voice filled with fear and trembling, "Asgard Master Yun, then what about us?" He. Xianxia gave a chuckle as he asked with an expression that seemed filled with concern, "Is your noble young sword master doing well right now?" Xuanyuan Bo's skin crawled as he spoke in a trembling voice. "The young sword master, he is currently recuperating from his wounds back in Mighty Heavenly Sword Region. He is fine now, we thank Asgard Master Yun for his concern." "That is simply splendid," Xianxia said as he smiled and nodded his head. After that, his head suddenly swiveled towards Sun Moon Divine Hall. "Could I ask which one of you is Elder Xuanyuan?" Xuanyuan, who had been called out by Xianxia, stepped forward with a dazed expression on his face. After that, he asked in a voice filled with nervousness and anxiety, Asgard Master Yun summoned this old one. What instructions do you have for me?" "You are Xuanyuan?" Xianxia said as he measured him with his eyes. Yes. Xuanyuan hurriedly nodded his head. He was completely bewildered and flustered by this sudden turn of events. "Very good," Yuan-Chi said with a faint nod of his head as a small, dark, and sinister smile appeared on his face. "It looks like your luck isn't bad. At the very least, you'll be able to live a bit longer than the rest of your compatriots." Xuanyuan raised his head, his expression filled with shock and fear. "Asgard Master Yun, what do you mean by that?" "What I mean is that the rest of you lot are already useless to me, so all of you can die right now." At this moment, the profound energy around Yuan-Chi's body instantly spiked towards the extreme. A beam of blue light danced in the palm of his hand, covering all of the people belonging to Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region. Crack, 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 crack. The temperature in the air suddenly plunged as the blue light unrestrainedly spread out as tens of dreadful trees of frozen end grew rapidly in the air, as if they had come from the depths of hell itself, as they completely sealed away and froze the members of Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region as they stumbled over themselves in complete panic. The peerlessly, dreadfully cold energy and extremely tyrannical frozen end sealing power of the trees of the frozen end that came from Yuan-Chi, who was in peak condition, had completely overpowered these elders of the two sacred grounds, and even the divine envoys themselves were not able to escape from them. Their faces rapidly turned greenish-purple from the icy coldness as expressions of complete despair. Fear and terror appeared on their faces. Yuan-Chi, you, Divine Envoy Heaven's equal, the strongest person in the current Sun Moon Divine Hall, let out a strangled cry filled with fury, shock, and terror. But just as these words escaped his mouth, his lips were securely locked away by a beam of frozen end energy. The members of Absolute Monarch Sanctuary and Supreme Ocean Palace stood there gawking from the sidelines, not even daring to breathe. How could they not guess what was happening after witnessing this scene? With just a simple wave of his hand, Yuan-Chi had completely sealed away more than 100 sacred grounds elders and the 5 incomparably strong Sun Moon divine envoys in ice. Not a single one of them could escape from this ice, and even though these bystanders had never once doubted Yuan-Chi's dreadfulness, they all still reeled in shock and fear after witnessing this scene. This was a strength that was simply so powerful that they could scarcely fathom it. Mighty Heavenly Sword region, as the dogs of Xuanyuan Wentian, who knows how many evil and wicked things you have done over the years. You caused calamity and strife to rage through the illusory demon realm and nearly caused the extinction of the illusory demon imperial family. After that, you caused the death of my grandfather and caused the deaths of many members of my Yun family. Even my parents nearly fell at your wicked hands, causing Xiao Yun and I to be separated from our families since birth. So tell me, what reason do I have to allow you to keep existing on this earth? Also, Sun Moon Divine Hall, given what has transpired between us, did all of you truly believe that I would be so kind-hearted as to let all of you off? All of these debts of blood can only be paid back with your lives. Despair, shock, and terror appeared on each and every face that had turned greenish-purple due to the cold. But none of them could utter a single sound, and only a faint whimper could be heard every now and then. "Kei, do you want to do the honors, or shall I do it?" Yuan-Chi asked in a low voice. Just as his voice fell, the little demon empress had already taken to the air. Golden flames which filled the sky brought along scorching despair as it hurtled towards the frozen bodies below. "Boo! The cold energy swiftly dissipated, but the sealing power of the frozen end energy did not weaken in the slightest. The members of Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region had been rescued from an icy cold abyss only to be thrown into a fiery purgatory of despair. As they let out miserable cries that sounded like the wailing of ghosts, they were swiftly burned into scorched ashes by the Golden Crow flames. Within the short span of tens of breaths, all of the members of Sun Moon Divine Hall and Mighty Heavenly Sword region who had come to Demon Imperial City today, besides Xuanyuan, whom Yuan-Chi had singled out, had died without even leaving a single bone behind.